Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto uncovers his true potential. One discussion in the academy introduces Naruto to his first real friends and changes his life forever. Together, they will work hard, push each other, and unlock their true potential. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel, and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 12, The Need to Get Stronger. Storm style, lighting rain. Shit. Everybody get out of here now. Anko ordered her students. Anko's words came too late. Blue lightning rained down from the sky and struck the 4 Konoha shinobi. All 4 members of Team 3 screamed in pain before falling to the ground, blue static surrounding their bodies. The 4 shinobi tried to get up, but found that they couldn't. The lightning had paralyzed their bodies. What? What the fuck? Anko questioned as she struggled to get up. Give up. It's useless. Naruto replied nonchalantly as he approached the Konoha shinobi. That technique of mine paralyzes anything it hits. Granted, it's only for a short time, but you all will be dead before it fades. No. Body, move, damn it. Anko ordered herself. Naruto walked over slowly to Hinata and picked her up by her jacket. The girl started to cry. He wasted no time in stabbing the girl through the throat. The tears that had run down her eyes mixed with the blood dripping from her throat. He then tossed the corpse of the Hyuga heiress over to the side before walking up to Shikamaru. Hinata. Anko screamed as she tried to get up again. Why you, stay away from my students. Shikamaru continued to struggle against his paralysis, but his efforts failed. Naruto grabbed him and impaled his lighting rod straight through the Nara's head. Shikamaru. The Tokubetsu Jonin screamed again. Naruto then walked over slowly to Naruto. The blonde tried similarly to Shikamaru to get up, but he too failed and was grabbed by the former Kumo ninja. The boy was then stabbed straight through the heart before being tossed to the side. No. Naruto. No. Anko cried out. Naruto walked slowly to Anko. The Tokubetsu Jonin kept trying to get up, but her efforts were not working. Gee God. Damn you. She hissed to the approaching figure. The former Kumo shinobi grabbed the woman by her throat. His face then immediately changed. Instead of Naruto, Anko was now looking into the eyes of her former sensei, Orochimaru. I must say, Anko-chan, I'm impressed. Even I wasn't able to kill off all my students. You really are a sensei beyond comparison. Orochimaru taunted her student as he licked his lips with his snake-like tongue. Anko didn't have time to react. Orochimaru had already stabbed her in the chest with the lightning rod. Her vision started to fade. Ah. Anko let out a blood-curdling scream before she got up, her eyes completely wide. The Tokubetsu Jonin looked around at her surroundings frantically. Instead of the battlefield by the Tenchi Bridge, she was in her bed in her apartment in Konoha. There was no battlefield, no missing ninja, and no corpses of her students. She sighed in relief. Okay, everything's okay. They're okay. They're alive. She told herself, breathing hard. Damn it. That nightmare gets worse each night. Ever since the battle against Kakuzu and Naruto, Anko had been having nightmares. They all involved her students dying at the hands of Naruto, and always end just as the man is killing her. The nightmares got worse with each subsequent one. This one in particular surpassed the others when the image of her former sensei, Orochimaru, appeared in her dreams in place of Naruto. Anko immediately got out of bed, grabbed a glass bottle of sake from her kitchen, and walked out into Konoha. It was early morning, the sun was just starting to rise. The Tokubetsu Jonin walked while drinking her sake, trying to clear her mind. She was currently mulling over the reason she believed she was having the nightmares. We should have died. We got so lucky that it isn't even funny. Anko thought bitterly. If Naruto didn't release the Kyuubi at that moment, if Naruto hadn't wasted so much chakra in the fight, if Han didn't stop the Kyuubi from taking complete control over Naruto, if any of that didn't happen, we'd all be dead. The snake summoner started to chug on her bottle. After finishing it off, she crushed it in her hands. Glass punctured her hand, but she was too deep in thought to care. I couldn't do a damn thing. I got paralyzed and that was it for me. I couldn't help them, I couldn't save my students. It's my job to protect them and I failed, heh. Some sensei you turned out to be Anko. Anko's walking soon turned into running. She was now heading in the direction of training ground 44. I fucked up badly. Now it's time to fix that. I have to make sure I can get stronger so something like that can never happen again. I have to get stronger to protect them, and I have to get them stronger to protect themselves. Anko thought. All of the rage over her nightmares and the incident were converted to determination. Her speed increased as she continued to head to the training ground, ready for a workout of her own before she met up with her students. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru could tell there was something wrong with their sensei. She was acting funny when they met up for their daily training sessions. On a usual day when they arrived early, the members of Team 3 would sit and chat before starting the warm-up. Today, Anko immediately had them start their warm-up. Anko, herself, didn't look to be in good shape. The woman had bags under her eyes and bruises on nearly every part of her body. Her right hand was bleeding as well. The woman seemed to not notice her condition, or she didn't care about it. She was more focused on the warm-up. The warm-up in itself was also odd. Anko had doubled the work she traditionally assigned. It could be compared to the work guy assigned to his team. This caused her students a lot of pain. The three genin were in the middle of push-ups when Hinata fell to the ground in exhaustion. She didn't have time to rest, however, as Anko had tossed a kunai right in front of her. We aren't over yet. Keep up the work, she ordered. Eep. Hinata gasped as she continued her work, breathing hard and being very slow with it. Give her a break, Anko-sensei, Naruto said while doing his push-ups. After all the running, the sit-ups, and all the other crap you've had us do, we are exhausted. The enemy doesn't care if you're exhausted. Hell, they'll be excited. Makes you an easier kill, Anko retorted, giving her blonde student a glare. Now stop yapping and focus on the work. Naruto had nothing else to say. He just continued silently with the warm-up. After another good 10 minutes, Anko had stopped the warm-up. Her three students immediately fell to the ground in pure exhaustion. All right, now we'll work on something else. I'm going to work on your reflexes, she said. Immediately as she said that, kunai came flying at her students. Hinata and Shikamaru were able to dodge in time, but Naruto was hit by one in the leg. He winced in pain. Ah. What the hell? He cursed. You should have all dodged those easily, she stated sharply. We're exhausted, Naruto retorted back. And like I said, enemy shinobi don't care. Now, back to work. Dodge properly and that should be the only injury you get, she replied before tossing shuriken. Her students then immediately got up and started to hurry out of the way of the attacks of their sensei. By the end of the session, Anko knew her students needed a break. Hinata and Shikamaru were close to passing out from exhaustion and Naruto was starting to take too many injuries. All right, take an hour to cool down, Anko ordered her students. They didn't have to be told twice. Shikamaru promptly took a nap right on the spot. Naruto and Hinata then sat down and tried to ease their tired muscles. Maybe I'm being too hard on them, Anko noted to herself. I'll work on something I think they all will enjoy for the individual stuff. And I'll try to take it a little easier tomorrow. But I'm not going to soften up too much. I need them tough. An hour passed by quickly. The three genin stood up and got ready for more training. All three were still incredibly sore, but were feeling better than they had earlier. Anko immediately made 2 shadow clones. Okay, I'll be working with Shikamaru. Naruto and Hinata, you both have my clones. Now, let's get to work. The 2 shadow clones immediately went off with their respective students, heading in their own direction. Shikamaru was left alone with his sensei. Okay, she only calls us by our names and not those troublesome nicknames when she's being serious. Something's up with her. Shikamaru thought to himself out of concern for his sensei. Okay, lazy ass, it's about time we finally worked on something I can legitimately teach you. I worked on your reflexes, your strength, and your mind each time, but now let's work on something to give you some variety. Anko told him as a smirk appeared on her face. And now she's back to the nicknames and smirking like a little kid. Anko-sensei, you are too troublesome to figure out. Shikamaru rolled his eyes. So, what exactly will we be working on? Shikamaru asked. His sensei nodded in response. It's about time we started working on your jutsu other than your shadows. This'll also give you some offensive attacks other than just spamming your explosive tagged kunai. Now, watch my hands. Anko then ran through a few hand signs before she shouted fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Multiple fireballs were released from her mouth. The fireballs made direct contact with nearby trees, lighting them on fire. Anko smirked before she used a water-style jutsu to put out the flames. You see that? It's pretty easy to learn as far as fire jutsu go and also packs quite a punch. I also know quite a few who use the fire to cover shuriken. You can come up with a few different tactics for it. Shikamaru actually grinned at seeing it in action. I could work with it. You better. Anyway, were you watching the hand signs? Try and do it. Anko ordered. The Nara nodded and made the same hand signs he saw his sensei make. He then took in a deep breath and attempted to breath out fireballs. Instead, however, he only caused his mouth to get very hot and smoke to come out. The Nara immediately started choking. Heh, you're only just starting with fire. Expect that to happen a lot when you just start. Anko told him while laughing. Troublesome. Shikamaru managed to eventually say between the coughing. By the time coughing died down, the two immediately continued work on the jutsu. One of Anko's clones led Hinata away from everyone, near a small clearing surrounded by wooden posts. When the two arrived there, the clone turned and faced the Hyuga. Alright Stutters-chan, you've gotten good with the bow. You know more than I can possibly teach you, so you're going to have to improve on your own with it. She informed her student. Hinata nodded in understanding. So, we'll have to work on something else for today. Now quick question, you're still working with your clan on the gentle fist, right? Yes. Hinata affirmed. Whenever I don't have missions that interfere, father still works with me on it. The clone of Anko nodded in acceptance. Good. Then I guess I'll leave taijutsu training to your family then. So, how about we work on some ninjutsu? The clone then pulled out a blue scroll and tossed it to her student. Hinata grabbed it and looked at its title. Water Style, Gunshot? She read. C-rank Water Style Jutsu. Can be used at any range. You turn your chakra into water and then spit it out in the form of rapid-fire water bullets. The more chakra you have, the more bullets you can use and the larger they can become. She explained. Fun fact, the Nidaime Hokage used this jutsu as a basis for developing his advanced water manipulation that allowed him to turn water vapor into a source for water. How he did that, I have no fucking clue. But hey, it's interesting trivia. You know a lot about multiple types of jutsu, sensei. Hinata noted. Of course. Anko's clone scoffed in response. Fire is my specialty, yeah, but I don't want to stay behind in the other elements. It's good to have a few different tricks up your sleeves in case you fight certain opponents. It also just makes you a balanced shinobi. Hinata nodded in understanding before she turned her attention to the scroll. She was already studying the basics of it and the required hand signs. Heads up, you will fail the first time you try. It may be C rank, but it's pretty complex. It's going to require you to concentrate a lot of chakra in your mouth and solidify it into water. She informed her student. Keep practicing though. The important thing is that you get this jutsu down eventually, so don't stress if it's taking time. Right. Hinata agreed as she placed the scroll down and made the necessary hand signs. Water style, gunshot. The Hyuga heiress concentrated her chakra into her mouth and attempted to create the jutsu. The end result caused the girl to go into a coughing fit, losing concentration on her jutsu. Yeah, that sounds like your average first attempt on that jutsu. Just like if you just starting working with fire jutsu. Anko's clone joked as she watched her student continue her coughing. She eventually went over to her and patted her on the back, helping her out. Well, because of that coughing fit, I can tell you got the chakra concentration part down relatively well. Now we just need to work on turning it into solid water that won't choke you. The clone stated. How about I demonstrate for you before you try again? Hinata nodded and the clone started to make hand signs, ready to demonstrate the jutsu. Hinata watched dutifully, hoping to recreate the jutsu quickly. The second clone of Anko led Naruto to an empty part of the training ground that was barren, no trees, no training posts, nothing. Okay Whiskers, let's the clone started. Wait, sensei, can we work on this? The blonde asked as he pulled out the scroll Han gave him. Anko's clone gave the boy a curious look before she took the scroll and looked at it. Her eyes widened when she saw what the scroll was for. Headhunter? Where'd you get an earth-style jutsu? They aren't overly common here in Konoha. She questioned. Hani gave it to me and he thinks it'd give me some variety in jutsu. I agree, so can we work on it? He asked again. Hani? The clone repeated the name in her head. Guess they were closer than I thought. Pretty surprising that Han gave him a jutsu though. The original me might find this really interesting. Whatever. I'm just a clone, I don't have to follow my original's orders when she isn't here. She shrugged, changing the plans for the blonde student. Yeah, we can work on the jutsu. Yeah. Awesome. Naruto cheered, jumping up and down a little. Okay, now let's get to work. Whoa, settle down Whiskers. Anko's clone mumbled. Naruto stopped jumping around and stared at her, waiting to hear what she had to say. Now, have you looked at the jutsu at all yet? Naruto shook his head. Not really. Only a little bit, but I kind of would have preferred to start practicing it with you in case if I screw up. I figured you could help me with any problems that I have with it. Fair enough. Understand though that I don't know this jutsu and earth is probably my weakest element, so I don't know exactly how much help I'll be with this. But I'll do my best. She said before tossing the scroll back to Naruto. Now, just try it I guess. Naruto nodded before he looked over the scroll again. He studied it for a few minutes, the details behind by the jutsu and the hand signs. He then put the scroll away and made the necessary hand signs. Earth style, headhunter jutsu. Naruto shouted. The blonde, however, used too much chakra in his attempt. This caused Naruto to sink into the ground itself. He fell down to his shoulders, shouting the entire way. Ah. Damn it. What the hell? Naruto cursed as he tried to get out of the clone. Anko's clone, after witnessing the attempt, immediately fell to the ground in laughing fit. Oh God. I didn't know it was possible, but you just got shorter. Her laughter only annoyed Naruto, whose struggling increased. Ugh. Ugh. "Hey, sensei. Quit laughing and help me out of here," he shouted. "Can't do whiskers," she replied between laughs. "You wanted to learn this jutsu, so you should fix the problems you make with it." Naruto grumbled to himself as he struggled to get out of the ground. He was going to have to practice this jutsu, and he couldn't do it like this. "Why do I have a feeling this is going to be a really long day?" he grumbled to himself, still trying to pull himself out. All three genin were exhausted after their individual training. They had spent every second working on the jutsu assigned to them. Shikamaru and Hinata were both suffering from chakra exhaustion, while Naruto experienced physical exhaustion from having to constantly pull himself out of holes. In addition, all there were still worn up from the earlier training from that day. "You all look like shit." Anko laughed. Naruto and Shikamaru glared in response at their sensei. Even Hinata gave her an annoyed look. This only caused the Tokubetsu Jonin to laugh in response. "Yup. And it seems like my lovely little brats are pissed. Now that right there is the reason I love being a sensei," she stated before she stopped laughing and gave them all a serious look. "Yeah, I know I probably tired you all out a lot today more than usual, and I admit I was a bitch today, but I need you guys to get tougher for the future. I want to make sure that if something like our last C rank happens again soon, you all will be able to have a fighting chance on your own without my help. So, expect the next few sessions to be rough, but I think it'll be worth it in the end." The three genin of Team 3 stopped glaring at their sensei and gave her a shocked look. They all then nodded simultaneously. "I'll be a little more lenient tomorrow, since I probably did go a little overboard, but the training will still be difficult. I am going to do my part to make sure you three can live a long, fulfilling life as shinobi of Konoha." "We get it. No big deal, Anko-sensei. We're just going to get stronger after all, so no complaints from me," Naruto stated excitedly. Good. Good to hear," Anko stated with a smirk. "Anyway, I have some plans today, so no missions. You are all dismissed. Just take it easy for the rest of the day and relax. You all earned it. See you brats tomorrow." Anko made a hand sign before using the shunshin and disappearing, leaving her students alone. "Show off. She just loves that shunshin," Naruto grumbled. "Naruto, this is Anko-sensei. She loves flashy entrances and exits. Are you just now realizing this?" Shikamaru rolled his eyes. "Shut up." Hinata giggled as she watched her friends argue. "Well, if we got the day off, I'm probably going to go head to Ichiraku. Want to come?" Naruto said as he started to walk off. Both Shikamaru and Hinata nodded. The three members of the team were then off, heading to go get lunch. It didn't take Anko long to reach where she was heading, the memorial stone for ninja killed in combat. The stone was not too far away from the training ground, making it only a small walk to get there. The Tokubetsu Jonin grinned when she arrived there. Just as she was hoping, a man was there. He was a tall man with white, spiky hair. He wore the Konoha flak jacket and a pair of pants that had kunai holders on them. He also had on a mask over his face, and his forehead protector covered his left eye. "Kakashi. What's up?" she shouted at him. The man, Kakashi, looked away from the memorial stone and faced Anko. He gave her a smile behind his mask before he walked over to her. "Good evening, Anko. It's been a while," he replied. "Need something? You usually don't come out here. You would know. You're out here every day," Anko noted. Kakashi shrugged. "True. I feel that I should be though. There are many people here who don't get as much respect as they should." Anko nodded with a frown on her face. The mood of the conversation had taken a rapid turn from positive to negative. "Yeah, I understand. We both know quite a few people on there, don't we?" "Yeah." the white-haired man replied before he gave another smile to the woman. Anyway, you probably didn't come to talk about stuff like that. What did you want to ask me? The Tokubetsu Jonin immediately perked back up. Spar with me. Kakashi gave her a strange look. You hurt me. I'm looking for a sparring partner, and I want to know if you'd be willing to be my partner. She explained. Odd. Why me? Aren't you closer to someone like Kurenai? Wouldn't you rather ask her? He asked. Because you're good. Real good. And don't deny it. Anko stated sharply as she noticed that Kakashi was going to interrupt her. I spar a lot with Kurenai, yeah, but I need someone a little tougher. I need someone who will push me beyond my limits. I figured you probably would be the best person to come to. I see. Kakashi noted, rubbing the back of his head in slight embarrassment at the praise from his colleague. Well, I'll be free in about 4 or 5 hours if you want to spar today. Where do you want to meet up then? Your training ground will be fine. She replied, a large grin on her face. Thanks a lot, Kakashi. No problem. We haven't sparred in a long time anyway, so maybe this'll be fun. Kakashi told her with a smile behind his mask. Anyway, I'm probably going to have to go soon. I'll see you then. Where you heading? She asked curiously. What are you running late to now? I'm supposed to meet up with my Genin team. He replied simply. Anyway, see you later, Anko. Kakashi waved goodbye before he disappeared in a shunshin, leaving Anko alone. A Jonin sensei showing up late to his Genin's training sessions. Typical Kakashi. Anko scoffed. Well, whatever. Not my problem. Anyway, I ought to prepare myself. Our spar is probably going to hurt. Anko then hurried off to go prepare for her spar. She was excited that he had said yes and was ready to see if the spar could help her improve on her skills. Itadakimasu. Naruto shouted loudly before he started scarfing down his ramen. Hinata and Shikamaru were much quieter and slower as they ate their food. In 30 seconds, the two of them had only gotten through a small portion of their bowls while Naruto finished his off and was requesting another bowl. Ah. I missed this place. If there's anything I missed from being out of Konoha, it was ramen. Naruto mentioned with a content smile while he waited for more ramen. Go figure. Shikamaru chuckled as he took a second away from his bowl to talk to his friend. If I were to say what I missed most, it would be my bed. I forgot how much easier it is to sleep on a real bed. That would be what you miss, lazy ass. Naruto stuck his tongue out at his friend. Hinata giggled to herself as she continued to eat on her ramen. She loved moments like these where Naruto and Shikamaru argued amongst each other. They amused her a lot. Shikamaru was about to respond to Naruto, but Tsuchi came forward from the back and gave Naruto another bowl of miso ramen. The blonde immediately turned his attention solely to the bowl and started eating again. Have we done that comparison between you and Anko-sensei on who is the faster eater yet? You and your ramen versus her and her dango? Shikamaru asked. We haven't, but we should. I know I could take her down Databeo. Naruto said proudly between slurps. Speaking of Anko-sensei, did you guys notice something off with her? Hinata questioned her friends. Naruto stopped eating and faced the Hyuga heiress. Well yeah, she even admitted it. She was being really tough on us to work on improving her training. Yeah, but it goes beyond that. Shikamaru spoke up. Her mood seemed to change over and over again, more often than usual. And she seemed stressed still. Still? Naruto and Hinata said in near unison as they gave the Nara heir a strange look. You haven't noticed? He questioned. Well, ever since that fight with those missing ninja on the mission, Anko-sensei has been acting different. Sure, she would joke around and be her troublesome self, but she seemed always like there was something on her mind. It only got worse each day. Something was bothering her and stressing her out, and it still is. Today was the worst she's been. How did you notice all that? Naruto asked. Attention to detail and paying attention to subtle changes in character. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. Shikamaru shrugged. So, what do you think? Naruto and Hinata remained quiet for a few seconds before Hinata spoke up. She probably is, she said, a frown on her face. Should we do something? Like what? It's not like she told us any of this. The Nara grumbled. Ooh, I know what we can do. Naruto spoke up. The blonde immediately told his friends the idea. Hinata and Shikamaru both smiled after hearing what he had to say. Simple, but I like it. I'm sure she'd appreciate it. Shikamaru said. She will. Hopefully it'll help her feel a little better. Hinata stated quietly. I have a feeling it will. If I know Anko-sensei, it should. Naruto said, a smirk on his face. Anyway, we should go do it after we finish eating. We wouldn't want her to head over there before we can do it for her, would we? Right. The Nara nodded in agreement. She said she had some plans today, so we might have a little bit of time. Hinata told them. A thoughtful look then appeared on her face. I wonder what Anko-sensei's plans were anyway. Style, fireball jutsu. Anko unleashed a giant fireball from her mouth. Kakashi retaliated with the same fireball. The two jutsu collided with each other and cancelled each other out. Damn it, Kakashi. I didn't realize sparring with you would be just you copying every jutsu I do. Anko cursed at him, starting to breathe hard. I'm the copy ninja for a reason, you know? He replied with a smile. His forehead protector was no longer covering his left eye. It was wide open, revealing the Sharingan. He's screwing with me. I know he's doing that to me on purpose to piss me off, so that way my actions will get less focused. Well, I'm not going to let him get the better of me that way. Anko told herself before she ran forward to attack. The two shinobi engaged in hand-to-hand combat. Kakashi was able to parry her strikes with his own. He managed to land a good few punches directly at the Tokubetsu Jonin, but she showed no signs of giving up. Realizing she was getting outmatched, Anko jumped backwards, made hand signs, and released another fire-style, fireball jutsu at Kakashi. The fireball flew faster than the other one and managed to hit Kakashi, causing him to wince under the flames of the fire. Anko smirked before she saw him disappear in a poof of smoke. Before she could react, a hand grabbed her from underground and pulled her down into the ground. She was dragged all the way down to her neck. Kakashi then appeared in front of her, giving his traditional smile behind his mask. This is the jutsu that Naruto wanted to work on today. Guess it's pretty effective. Anko thought to herself. Well, I suppose that should cut it for today, right, Anko? Kakashi asked. I'm assuming you don't need help getting out? Her response was only disappearing in a poof of smoke as well. Kakashi's eyes widened in response. Shadow clone? He mumbled to himself before looking for Anko. I don't remember her even making one. That's pretty impressive to pull that off on me. He didn't have time to look much. Snakes shot from behind a nearby tree and grabbed the man with their teeth. They bit down hard on him, causing him to wince in pain. Ha, now let's get this over with. Anko stated as she appeared from behind the tree. She then pulled back on her hands in an effort to pull Kakashi forward. Her efforts worked, as Kakashi was sent flying towards the Tokubetsu Jonin. She then made more hand signs. Fire style, dragon flame jutsu. She shouted before unleashing a burst of fire from her mouth, heading at the approaching Kakashi. Ah, I see what she's doing. She used her snakes to immobilize me and pull me in close to her so she can use the dragon flame jutsu, a jutsu that is more effective the closer you are to the target. Very effective. Kakashi thought to himself before he started to make hand signs of his own. However, Anko, I am not immobilized like you think I am. Water style, gunshot. Kakashi quickly launched a ball of water from his mouth that collided with the fire. The water quickly put out the approaching flames and continued flying at Anko. The Tokubetsu Jonin was hit head-on by the jutsu, causing her to fly backwards and her snakes to let go of Kakashi. She landed on the ground hard. Damn it. She cursed before getting up and getting a position to keep fighting. Anko, that's probably enough for today. Kakashi told her as he moved his forehead protector to cover his Sharingan eye. We are not done. I can still fight. Now let's keep this up. Anko demanded as she pulled out a kunai. Anko, please. Besides the fact you were already bruised before we fought, I can tell your chakra is running low right now, and that you're even more tired. We sparred for a while. We should call it quits for the day. The Jonin explained. We don't want to get you too tired. You'd be useless if you were overworked and exhausted. Just relax. Anko said nothing in return. She looked down and thought. He's right. I have been overworking myself today. I can't let that happen, otherwise I might burn myself out. I'm going to have to take it a little easier. She thought. However, Kakashi started, getting the attention of Anko. We can continue sparring some other time. Would every other day be okay with you? Anko immediately grinned in response. Hell yeah, it would. Meet here same time. Kakashi nodded. Yep. Now, I'll see you then. Why don't you go and relax? Right. Thanks, Kakashi. She thanked him, her grin seemingly larger. I'll see you later then. Bye. Anko then walked off, too tired to make a shunshin. She's better than I remember. I actually had to use my Sharingan, and I got myself tired out a little bit. And if we keep sparring like that, we will both get better. These sparring sessions will be pretty useful. Kakashi noted before he pulled out an orange book from a pocket in his pants. Anyway, back to where I was when I left off. The Jonin giggled to himself with a blush on his face as he walked away from the training ground himself. After sparring with Kakashi, Anko went out to go get dango. The sensei of Team 3 ordered a large plate of her favorite food and a cup of tea. As soon as she got her desired meal, the woman immediately started to eat at a rate that would cause Naruto to gasp. Every time I'm away on a mission, dango gets better by the time I come back. She noted in her head as she continued to chew on her food in contentment. Anko was alone in the restaurant other than the workers. She took her time eating and tried to keep her mind focused solely on the food. She made an effort to avoid thoughts on her nightmares or her role as a sensei. She was able to relax. By the time she finished her meal, she was smiling peacefully and playing with a few of the sticks that her dango were on. Okay, I feel better now. Kakashi was right. I needed to rest a little bit. I need to stop stressing myself out so much. She told herself. A clerk came over and took the plates away from Anko. She then turned her attention to him. Hey, so how much was it today? I know I went a little overboard on how many I ordered. Anko asked sheepishly, rubbing the back of her head. You? Nothing. The clerk informed her. Ha. Huh. She gave him a strange look. Look, don't screw with me. How much do I owe? As I said, nothing. 3 young kids came in today and paid a good amount of money and put it under your name. And you didn't eat as much as they paid, so you don't owe us a thing. He replied. Ha. Huh. Anko's eyes widened. Yes. A Hyuga, a Nara, and a blonde-haired boy were the ones who paid for you. The clerk replied. They seemed to really look up to you and wanted to do something for you. We warned them how much it would probably cost to cover one of your meals, but they didn't care. Anko's eyes seemed to widen even further. Her students had paid for this meal? They had done something like that for her, especially after she was being, as she put it, a bitch to them? Okay then. Thanks a lot, sir. Anko told the man before she walked out of the shop and headed back to her apartment. Anyone who saw the Tokubetsu Jonin that night would have seen a sight rarely seen. Anko was walking down the streets of Konoha with a smile on her face. Not a sadistic smirk or a mischievous grin, a plain, sincere smile. I'll have to pay them back somehow. Those three, they're fine shinobi and great kids. And I'll do my part to keep them alive. Anko thought to herself with pure determination in her eyes. That night when Anko fell asleep, she was not greeted by the same nightmare that was tormenting her. The dream she had reminded her of a dream she used to get growing up where she, of all people, became the Hokage. She couldn't remember much about this dream, but it was a peaceful one and she enjoyed it. There was one thing she truly remembered from it though: Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru were alive, and were proud Jonin of Konoha. The snake summoner knew she was going to do everything in her power to make sure her dream did come true. Time fell into a pattern for the members of Team 3. Days turned to weeks. Weeks turned to months. They continued meeting up each morning for training, which was still more difficult than it was prior to the mission to Tenchi Bridge. Slowly, the three genin became used to the new training method and encouraged Anko to make it more difficult. Their slightly sadistic sensei was more than eager to add to the difficulty. One notable change that occurred from before the C-rank mission was in the attitude of Anko. The woman seemed more attached to her genin. She occasionally joined her students when they went out to lunch at Ichiraku. If someone ever stopped her and asked her about her team, she would shower them in praise and say nothing but good things about them. It was true, the infamously sadistic Mitarashi Anko was becoming a softie for her genin students. Not that she would ever admit that to their faces. No, of course not. As the members of Team 3 improved from training, they improved in their mission-taking skills. They took more missions now, and went through them quickly. They had been able to complete 22 D-rank missions, and 8 C-rank missions, a record very impressive for rookie genin. Things were becoming routine for the members of Team 3. No matter what any of them would say, the 4 members were secretly hoping for something to take them away from the same activities. Their secret hopes were answered when a bird wearing the crest of Iwagakure flew into Konoha, carrying a scroll on its back. Sarutobi Hiruzen knew he was getting old, so he felt the need to read the scroll twice. He then read it over a third time to make complete sure, and then a fourth time to fully understand what was going on. Iwagakure had just sent a notice to the Hokage that the village was sending 2 genin teams to participate in the Chunin exams that were being held in Konoha this year. The Sandaime lit his pipe and looked out of the window in his office, staring at the Hokage monument. The Chunin exams are coming up. They'll be here in 2 weeks. And it'll be the first time IWA has sent a team to a Konoha exam in over 30 years. Hiruzen thought to himself, breathing out smoke from his pipe. Something tells me that this year's exam will be very interesting. Chapter 13, Foreigners and Exams. The 3 genin students stood in front of their sensei, panting heavily. The team had just went through another rough day of training, and were now awaiting whatever orders Anko would give them now. Brats, aren't you all used to this already? You guys shouldn't be so tired. Anko laughed. Used to it, kind of. Doesn't change that it's physically exhausting. Shikamaru pointed out between breaths. Whatever. Anko shrugged. Although, despite the fact that you guys shouldn't be so tired, I will say you all are making great progress. I can tell you guys are getting tougher. And by now, I can say that the jutsus I've been working with each of you in your private sessions, and the jutsus we've been working on together are pretty much spot on now. You've all made noticeable progress, so good job. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru gave their sensei a wide smile despite their heavy breathing. So yeah, why not you guys take a break? Relax. No missions for today. Anko informed them, a smile on her face as well. Besides, I got something I need to do today as well. What? Hinata asked for the group. Anko put her finger to her lips. Just tell us. Naruto demanded, giving his sensei a dirty look. Whatever. Sure. The snake summoner shrugged. Basically, the Chunin exams are coming up in less than a week. I'm supposed to go to a meeting and say if I think you all are ready to take it. All three genin stared at their sensei in shock and anticipation. The three of them seemed to no longer be tired. And? Are you recommending us? Naruto asked. Well, most likely. In the end, the decision belongs to you guys. But I'll give you all the permission to take it because quite frankly, you all can take it. Anko stated. Awesome. Naruto cheered excitedly. Once we pass, we'll be Chunin. That's one step closer to being Hokage. Hinata smiled, both at her crush's excitement and at her sensei's words. Troublesome. Shikamaru mumbled. Unlike his friends, he wasn't as excited about the exam due to all the work involved with it. Don't most genin have at least a year of training before they take it? I don't think many rookies take the exam. Most don't take it the first time, but I know plenty of teams back in the day who took it fresh out of the academy. Anko responded. Besides, I proctored the exam the last time it came to Konoha, so I kind of know what it takes to get through the exam here, and I believe you all are ready. Trust me, I wouldn't give you permission to do it if I didn't think that you guys could do it. I'll honestly be shocked if you can't get to the third stage of the exam. The three genin members of Team 3 looked at their sensei with shock evident in their face. They were surprised at how much faith she had in them. If you say so. Shikamaru replied, a smirk now on his face. Maybe this won't be that bad. We won't let you down, Anko-sensei Databeo. Naruto shouted with a grin on his face. Now, get on over to your meeting and recommend us. I know you won't. Their sensei replied before making her favorite hand sign and disappearing in a poof of smoke. I hate it when she does that. Naruto grumbled. We need to corner her the next time we see her and force her to teach us the Shunshin. Or you could just learn it yourself. It can't be that hard. Shikamaru shrugged. The blonde Uzumaki replied by sticking his tongue out. A few seconds of silence passed by Team 3 before Naruto decided to speak. Well, I'm off, you guys. I'm going to get some ramen. I guess I'll see you both tomorrow. He said as he started to walk off. And Naruto-kun, 1 second. Hinata spoke up. The boy turned back and faced Hinata. The girl was playing around with her fingers and had a red blush over her face. WL. The girl started, shaking her head in embarrassment due to her stuttering. Well, we have the day off. Would why you like to go somewhere together and eat or something? Shikamaru immediately started to cough. Seriously? Of course. Naruto's eyes lit up at the question. Hinata's embarrassment turned to excitement as she gave her crush a large smile. It's been a while since the three of us just hanged out somewhere. I'm game. Hinata's excitement immediately faded away, realizing that Naruto misunderstood what she was asking. Shikamaru noticed her disappointment and decided to step in. I can't. Dad wanted me home as soon as possible today for some clan stuff. Sorry. The Nara heir shrugged. You guys have a good time without me. Really? Damn. Naruto cursed before he turned back to Hinata with a smile. Well, I don't mind if it's just us if you don't mind. Hinata's excitement came back as she gave the blonde a smile so wide that she had to close her eyes. I don't mind. All right then, so where did you want to go? This was your idea after all. the blonde pointed out. Her nervousness about Naruto's answer now gone, Hinata could speak freely. Freely. I wanted to show you the bakery I always go to. You haven't gone to it yet after all. Oh yeah. That's fine with me. Let's head on out. The blonde stated. Later Shikamaru. Bye Shikamaru-kun. Hinata stated. She gave the Nara a knowing look. Thank you so much. Later. The boy replied while giving Hinata a similar look. You're welcome. Naruto and Hinata walked off on their own, Hinata leading the way. Shikamaru watched the two for a few seconds before he walked away in his own direction, a smirk on his face. Hinata really has changed. Good for her. Shikamaru noted. Naruto and Hinata headed off to the bakery Hinata was talking about. It was a small, gray shop called Panya located near the entrance to the village. When they arrived, Naruto ordered himself a few pastries and sat down in a seat. He was unprepared for the sight he was about to see. Hinata had gotten a little more than half a dozen large cinnamon rolls. The Hyuga heiress sat down at her own chair and started to devour her sweets quickly. D-damn Hinata-chan. You really do have a thing for cinnamon rolls. Naruto exclaimed. He knew this was her favorite food, and he had seen her eat one or two before, but he had never seen her eat this many this fast. The girl stopped eating for a second as her face turned slightly red. In a second though, the redness faded and a teasing smile appeared on the girl's face. True, but you're just as bad with ramen. She informed him. That's different. You can't just eat a few bowls. The blonde retorted. And you can't just eat a few cinnamon rolls. There is no difference. She replied. A moment of silence passed before the two genin started to laugh loudly. Conversation carried on from there as the two discussed anything that came to mind, from their daily training sessions to pranks Naruto was planning to a few books that Hinata was reading. The two members of Team Tree talked freely with no limits. It was during this conversation that Naruto truly noticed something. Hey Hinata, your stutter is gone. He stated. Ha! The Hyuga heiress looked at him strangely. Yeah, now that I think about it, you really don't stutter anymore at all. Naruto elaborated. Only around people you don't know or if you're really embarrassed. You really don't stutter anymore. Hinata mumbled in thought, a smile appearing on her face. I guess so. I've been getting more confident in myself. I can tell. That's great. Naruto cheered. Aha. And it's all thanks to you. She told him, her face turning red again. Really? The blonde asked. He then started to chuckle. Well yeah, I guess time with a team as crazy as ours really must help. Especially Anko-sensei. Definitely. She has helped a lot, and so has Shikamaru-kun. Hinata agreed, her face still red. Still, I owe most of it to you. Really? The blonde asked, now starting to look confused. Why? Spending all the time we have with each from the academy, and in our team has just helped. Your smile and your enthusiasm are contagious. The Hyuga heiress giggled. Your determination is admirable. You encouraged me to believe in myself more, so that I can be as strong and confident as you are. I really owe it all to you, Naruto-kun. Really? Naruto asked. His face was starting to turn red himself. Wow. I am glad to help out. Thanks for thinking that. Hinata noticed something and couldn't help but point it out. Naruto was really influencing her after all. Hey! Look who's stuttering now? She teased her crush. So. Naruto mumbled, shaking his head in defiance. The two friends continued to talk from there, even after they finished their food. After another hour, they got up and walked out of the bakery. We need to do stuff like this more often. That was fun, Naruto said, a large smile on his face. I agree. Hinata replied, her smile even wider than her crush's. So, I guess I'll see you tomorrow? The blonde asked. Of course. Hinata replied. Her confidence at an all-time high, she did something she never imagined she could do, she walked up and gave Naruto a hug. See you tomorrow, Naruto-kun. The hug surprised the Uzumaki, but he quickly returned it. See you tomorrow, Hinata-chan. The two genin then walked their own way back home. Hinata's face was slightly red and she had a smile on her face that showed no signs of ever disappearing. I can't believe it. I just asked Naruto-kun out on a date. I just hugged Naruto-kun. Hinata cheered in her head. A few months ago, her actions and these feelings would be enough to cause Hinata to faint. Hinata, however, was not the same girl. She was now much more confident, a strong, proud kunoichi of Konoha. I know Naruto-kun probably didn't see it as a date. I know he probably doesn't like me like that. But, this is a good start. Hinata's smile somehow grew larger. Maybe it's a sign that one day he will. Nothing could happen that day that would ruin Hinata's mood. Anko was one of the first to arrive to the meeting room. She took a seat in the back and waited impatiently for it to start. Seconds turned to minutes. The room started to get filled. She was soon joined in the back by Sarutobi Asuma and, to everyone's surprise, an on-time Hitaki Kakashi. When the time finally came and everyone was here, the Sandaime Hokage decided to walk to the center of the room and speak. All right, everyone, I think it's about time to start. Sarutobi said. As well all know, it is time for this year's Chunin exams. All eyes focused on the Hokage. Each shinobi in the room were giving him their full attention. Sarutobi began the meeting by discussing the nature of the Chunin exams, something they all knew, but something he enjoyed reminding everyone about. Once he finished, he started to go into the true purpose. Now, are there any Jonin senseis that believe that their genin squads are ready? The Sandaime asked. One by one, Jonin stood and gave their recommendations. Anko watched with only mild interest. This whole process was boring her. Really boring her. She just wanted it all to end so she could leave already. After about 7 recommendations, a Jonin with bushy eyebrows and green spandex on stood up and gave the Hokage a thumbs up. I, Mato Guy, recommend my wonderful students, Rock Lee, Hyuga Niji, and Ten, for this year's exams. He proclaimed with a grin. His teeth seemingly shined after his words. The whole room sighed. Guy's an idiot, but his team must be pretty damn good if they survived him and his training. Anko thought to herself as more senseis were giving their recommendations. I'm sure they'll provide some competition for my brats at least. After a few more recommendations, it was now the turn for the senseis sitting in the back, the senseis of the rookie genin. I, Metarashi Anko, recommend Uzumaki Naruto, Hyuga Hinata, and Nara Shikamaru for this year's exams. Anko proclaimed. What? Umino Irika, one of the few Chunin in the room, gasped. His attention was now focused on Anko. I, Hitaki Kakashi, recommend Uchiha Sasuke, Inuzuka Kiba, and Haruno Sakura for this year's exams. Kakashi stated after her. I, Sarutobi Asuma, recommend Aburame Shino, Yamanaka Ino, and Akimichi Choji for this year's exams. Asuma added. Looks like I wasn't the only one. All rookies are coming in. Anko thought to herself. Interesting. Sarutobi said to himself with an amused smile. Very well then. Hokage-sama, I beg that you reconsider your decision to let these genin teams in. Irika spoke up. All eyes turned to the academy instructor in the room. Teams 3, 7, and 10 are still rookie genin. They've only just started their careers as shinobi. I suggest they wait a year to develop further as shinobi. By then they should be ready to take the exam. Hirozen sighed. While I understand your logic, it is not against any law or rules for rookies to participate in the exams. If their senseis believe they are ready, then they can participate. Irika, in response to the Hokage's words, turned around to face the three senseis once again. Then I ask you three to reconsider your recommendations and give them more time. Relax, Irika. Anko replied. I wouldn't recommend my brats if they weren't ready. They're kids though. He retorted. I was younger than them when I earned my promotion. The snake summoner shrugged. Same. Asuma spoke up, helping Anko's point. I was around the age of your youngest students in the academy when I passed the exams. Kakashi added nonchalantly. They aren't you. They aren't like any of you. Irika shouted. Naruto's not, Sasuke's not, Shino's not, none of them are. People die in these exams, you all should know that. Anko noticed that Irika's words were more filled with concern than anger. The Tokubetsu Jonin was about to respond and try to quell his worries, but Kakashi spoke up first. Irika, the second they passed the true genin exam, these kids left your authority and are now under ours. Team 7 is not your team, they are mine. If they are ready, then I would know it. Don't act as if you know better than us. The one-eyed shinobi spoke sharply. Irika's eyes widened. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He had no argument. Harsh. Anko whispered to her friend. He needed to hear it. Irika's a good guy, but he has to realize that they aren't his students anymore and that he shouldn't coddle them. Kakashi told her. I think that's enough of that. Hiruzen spoke up, gaining everyone's attention. The Hokage continued to discuss details of the exams to everyone. After he finished, he decided to tell everyone one last bit of information. Before we end this, I would like you all to let your genin know to be on their best behavior. Shinobi from other villages have already started to arrive in Konoha. He told everyone. With those words, the Hokage walked out of the meeting room. Everyone was dismissed. Naruto had left the bakery in a very good mood. He had spent with Hinata before, but this time was different. He didn't know why this time in particular made him so happy, but it did. He had fun hanging out with her. A lot of fun. The blonde was in such a good mood that he wasn't really paying attention as he walked back home. The Uzumaki bumped into someone, a boy that had war paint on, wearing a black full body suit with a hood, and was carrying on his back some object wrapped up in white bandages. Ugh. Naruto grumbled to himself before he turned to the other guy. Sorry about that. You little brat. Watch where you're going. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Look, sorry about that. He apologized again. The blonde started to walk away, but the other guy walked in front of him and blocked his path. Not gonna happen, kid. Brats like you need to learn to give respect. He informed him, cracking his knuckles. I already apologized. Twice. Stop being stubborn and accept it, damn it. Naruto retorted, raising his hands in annoyance. Kankuro, don't make a scene. The two turned their heads in the direction Naruto had come by. They both saw a girl wearing a white garment that went from her shoulders to her thighs. She had a scarlet sash around her waist and she wore fishnets over her shoulders and her legs. The girl also had a large fan attached to her back and wore a forehead protector for sunagakure tied around her neck. Naruto then noticed that the guy in front of him, Kankuro, was wearing the same forehead protector. They were both Suna shinobi. I'm not starting anything, Temari. I'm just giving this brat a life lesson. Kankuro informed her. Shut up already. Like a guy who wears makeup could give me any life lessons. The Uzumaki rolled his eyes. Kankuro turned back to the blonde boy, his eyes red with anger. He immediately moved a hand to the object on his back and started to unwrap it. Naruto, in response, got in a fighting stance. He then cleansed his mind and started to pay attention to the environment around him, ready for any possible attack. It was at this moment, in this state of mind, that he felt the presence of a third figure. "Just asking though, is that guy with you?" he asked the Suna shinobi, pointing to a nearby tree. Kankuro and Temari took a look at the tree and were surprised at the sight. Standing underneath a branch on the tree was a boy wearing a black full-body suit with a white sash over his shoulders and a gourd attached to his back. Gaara. Kankuro gasped. "Kankuro, you are an embarrassment to our village." The boy, Gaara, spoke in a monotone, cold voice. The war-paint-wearing shinobi was about to respond, but Gaara cut him off. "Shut up, or I will kill you." Kankuro said nothing, only shivered in response. He and Temari both turned away. Naruto watched the scene with an urge to throw up. What the fuck, this guy reeks of killing intent, he thought. The boy with red hair disappeared in a spiral of sand and reappeared on the ground in front of Naruto. Up close, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki noticed that the boy had the kanji for love written on his forehead. "I apologize for my brother's stupidity," he told the blonde. It's okay. No worries," Naruto replied, rubbing the back of his head nervously. Who are you?" My name is Sabaku no Gaara," the redhead stated. "I'm curious about your name as well." "Mine?" the blonde questioned. "I'm Uzumaki Naruto." "Uzumaki Naruto." Gaara repeated the name. "I'm also curious how you were able to sense me. Very few shinobi have that ability." "I have pretty good senses." Naruto shrugged. "I meditate a lot. I can sense things better than most ninja my age." "Meditation?" Gaara seemed disappointed with the answer. He continued to stare at Naruto until a small, sadistic grin appeared on his face. "I sense something in you. You are like me." "Ha!" Naruto gave him a strange look. Why is he smiling like that? "Are you participating in the Chunin exams?" Gaara asked. I think so," Naruto replied. "I look forward to seeing you then," the redhead stated, his grin wider than before. He then turned away and started to walk. "Kankuro, Temari, we're leaving." The other Suna shinobi nodded obediently before following him. Kankuro made sure to glare at Naruto before he and the other shinobi disappeared. What the hell was that?" Naruto asked himself. The blonde continued to walk towards his apartment. Even when he arrived home, his mind replayed the events that he just witnessed. That Gaara guy was my age. How does he have so much killing intent around him? And what did he mean we're the same? I saw nothing like me in him. Shikamaru didn't lie to Naruto and Hinata. His father did want him to come to discuss some clan business. It, however, only lasted 30 minutes. Shikamaru left his clan's compound after the meeting and went out into Konoha for a walk. Nothing unusual happened at first, leaving Shikamaru to his thoughts, just as he preferred it. He was about to head to an open field to take a nap when he heard some noise. "You shouldn't even be here. Just get on out. I'm here for the exams. You and your little dog can go shove it." Shikamaru stopped his walk. That voice, was that? The Nara changed directions, heading towards the source of the commotion. A few steps later, he arrived at it. Two shinobi were arguing with each other. Both of them were very familiar to the Nara. One was Inuzuka Kiba, a classmate and acquaintance of the Nara. He was accompanied by his dog, Akamaru. And the other? Kuratsuchi? He spoke up. The two ninjas stopped arguing and turned to face the Nara. Kuratsuchi gave him a surprised look before a grin developed on her face. "Lazy ass. It's good to see you," she exclaimed, causing Shikamaru to sigh. Man, I'm starting to hate that nickname. Shikamaru, you're just in time. Come on, help me get rid of this trash. Kiba shouted at the Nara. Akamaru barked in agreement. Kuratsuchi immediately turned her attention back to Kiba. Alright, shut the hell up, mutt. Can someone tell me what's going on? Shikamaru asked, rubbing his head in annoyance. An IWA ninja got in. Kiba exclaimed dumbly, pointing right at the brown-haired Kunoichi. So what? She hissed. I already told you, I'm here for the Chunin exams. You know, those things that happen twice a year where genin go to get promoted? I'm not a kid, you know. I know what they are. The Inuzuka growled back. What I'm saying is that Konoha would never allow an IWA shinobi to take the exam while it's here. Newsflash kid, they did. Now mind your own business. Kuratsuchi shot back. Damn. Shikamaru was almost impressed with the level of tension in the area. Not fully impressed though, because it was giving him a headache. Alright you guys, shut up. Shikamaru grumbled. Both shinobi turned to face him. Kuratsuchi, you have proof, right? Like a passport or something. Well duh. She grumbled, raising her right hand. She was holding on to the passport. I've been trying to show it this guy, but he just won't accept it. Kiba, if she has proof, then you can trust her. She's here legally. Shikamaru told his fellow Konoha shinobi. The Inuzuka gave Shikamaru a surprised look, both from his apparent relationship with the IWA Kunoichi and from him saying that she could just stay here. This look soon turned to a scowl. I knew you were lazy, but I thought you were a decent guy, Shikamaru. Didn't know you associated with IWA. He growled quietly. Akamaru growled in unison with his owner. The boy walked away, grumbling to himself about the situation. Troublesome. Shikamaru sighed. Tell me about it. Kuratsuchi sighed as well, more in relief however. A smile then appeared on her face. Really, it's good to see you. Likewise. Shikamaru replied. So, you're taking this year's exams? Where's your team then? Yup. And Han-sensei is, somewhere. I have no clue where he ever is. But my teammates are in our room at the inn. Risho didn't want to associate with the Konoha shinobi for too long and Roto was uncomfortable with all the looks the people here were giving him. She replied. It was then that Shikamaru noticed all the eyes on them. Citizens were walking by and glaring in their general direction at the Kunoichi. Yeah, our village wouldn't really be hospitable to any IWA shinobi, I guess. Troublesome people. How are you doing then? Shikamaru asked, trying to see if his friend was bothered by the animosity directed towards her. I've been better, but it's no big deal. She shrugged. Some looks and words aren't going to kill me. I was just walking around the village and seeing what it was like. Seems pretty fun. The Nara noted. Yup, but it'd be more fun to go around with someone. Want to come with? Kuratsuchi asked. Really? He groaned. I was just going to go take a nap. Oh no. Hell no. Now you have to go with me. Stop being a lazy ass and show me around your damn village. Kuratsuchi demanded. The IWA Kunoichi grabbed the Nara by his shoulder and started to walk off. She's still as troublesome as last time. Shikamaru did not get a chance to nap for the rest of the day. The members of Team 3 met up at the training ground. Anko was holding paper forms in her hand, which caught the attention of her genin. So, are we in? Naruto asked excitedly. If you're asking if these are the forms for the exams, then yes, they are. Anko replied. Hell yeah. The blonde cheered loudly. The snake summoner chuckled to herself before speaking again. So yeah, I got the recommendation forms for you guys and stuff, so you all can take it. but the decision really is up to you. So, do you guys really want to do it? Hell yeah. Naruto replied eagerly as he snatched one of the forms from his sensei's hands. This resulted in him receiving a smack in the head. Ow. Don't just take things from me, Whiskers. She grumbled before turning to Hinata. What about you? A month or two ago, Hinata would have hesitated. She would have had to think about if she really wanted to enter, and would have ultimately entered solely because she wouldn't want to let her team down. In the present, however, having gone through multiple missions and becoming more confident enough to ask Naruto out, her answer was immediate with no hesitation. Of course. She exclaimed, a smile on her face. Anko smiled back to her as she handed her the form. And you lazy ass? Anko asked the third member of the team. Why not? I'm alright with it. Shikamaru shrugged. He took the form from his sensei as well. Good. Glad to see you are all ready. She told her team. Anyway, the exam is in 5 days, so we don't have much time until then. So, yeah, let's get training started. And trust me, this will be brutal. The smiling and excitement stopped. All 3 genin of Team 3 nearly shivered to themselves. 5 days of hellish training passed. The genin of Team 3 walked up the academy, the location for the start of the Chunin exams. You all ready? Naruto asked as he opened the doors. As ready as we will ever be. Shikamaru answered. Hinata merely nodded in agreement. The 3 friends walked inside and headed up the stairs towards the 3rd floor. Hinata noticed a genjutsu on the 2nd floor, so the 3 continued walking up another set of stairs and avoided the commotion on the 2nd floor. On the 3rd floor, they found the room of the exam. They also noticed another person standing outside, their sensei. Anko-sensei? What are you doing here? Hinata asked. The sensei of Team 3 shrugged. 'Cause the senseis are supposed to make sure you all showed up. I don't really know. Waste of time for me. I knew you'd all show up. The 3 genin sweat dropped. Shikamaru also mumbled something about his troublesome sensei under his breath. I know you all don't need luck. I know you'll kick some serious ass. I'm expecting you 3 to get promoted to Chunin by the end of this thing. Their sensei stated, a proud smile on her face. So, get in that damn room and show them what you're made of. Don't embarrass me, brats. Anko then used her shunshin and disappeared in another poof of smoke. Naruto grumbled under his breath about his sensei's obsession with the jutsu, which caused Hinata to giggle. Well, we heard her. Let's get in and do this thing. Shikamaru spoke up. His 2 teammates nodded in agreement. The genin of Team 3 walked. It was now time for the Chunin exams. Omake 2, the Chunin exam proctor. 2 weeks prior to the Chunin exams. Shit, I am late, I am so late. Anko cursed in her head. The Tokubetsu Jonin was sprinting throughout the village heading towards the Konoha Academy. On her way, she barreled past any person she ran into without a second thought. She was just focused on getting to the academy. Ibiki is going to be so pissed. But how I was supposed to know that the meeting was today? Nobody tells me these things anymore. She ranted in her head. Anko's thoughts started to calm down after she arrived at the building. She ran inside and immediately walked to a room on the 2nd floor that had no class. The snake summoner opened the door to the room and walked inside. In the room, there was a large round table. Anko recognized nearly everyone there. Kotetsu and Izumo were sitting in the front and looked as if they were about to fall asleep. Hayate was sitting in one of his chairs, coughing up a storm. Other random ninja Anko knew were scattered in the seats. Ibiki was sitting at the very end, speaking to everybody. So, that means you two, Kotetsu and Izumo, will be in charge of weeding out weaklings before the Ibiki's words were cut off as he turned to face the person who opened the door. sorry that I'm late. None of you bastards told me that the meeting was today. Anko stated in her traditional manner. Anyway, sorry to interrupt Ibiki. Continue from where you last left off. All eyes were on Anko, who had walked over and taken a seat next to Hayate. Anko, what are you doing here? Izumo asked. What does it look like? I'm here for the meeting. You know, the meeting where we discuss how we are going to run the Chunin exams? She replied, rolling her eyes. We know what meeting it is. We're here after all. But why are you here? Kotetsu questioned. PSH. Anko scoffed. Didn't realize you two were that stupid. Don't you remember that I am in charge of the second exam whenever the Chunin exams are held in Konoha? Anko-san, not this year though. Hayate informed her before coughing again. Ha! The sensei of Team 3 gave him a puzzled look. Anko, you have a genin team this year. And it is fair to say that you will recommend them for the Chunin exams. Ibiki told her. Therefore, you can't proctor the exams. It would be considered unfair, considering you could give them hints on how to handle the exam. Ha! Are you serious? Anko asked. That's bullshit. It's how it is. Ibiki retorted sternly. Well, who else is going to be the proctor? She asked angrily. That would be me. Anko then turned at the new voice and her eyes widened. Sitting a few seats down from Ibiki was her best friend, Yuhi Kurenai. Kurenai? You are replacing me? Anko asked incredulously. It was either her or Genma, and we chose her. Ibiki answered. But she's never proctored the exams before. The snake summoner nearly whined. But you've only done it once, Anko-san. If that's the case, then you shouldn't have been allowed to do it last time. Hayate retaliated. But the snake summoner started. No buts. Anko, you are not a proctor for the exam this year. Now leave. You're wasting our time and you're embarrassing yourself. Ibiki informed her strictly. Anko remained still in her seat for a few seconds before she scowled and disappeared in a shunshin. The other shinobi in the room sighed in response. Well, she can be pretty moody. Kotetsu mumbled. You're telling me. Ibiki scoffed. After working with Anko for the past few years in torture and investigations, he knew just how moody she could be. Anyway, we wasted enough time. Back to where we were. I can't believe they replaced me like that. I know I have a team, but still. Anko mentally groaned. And this is why I hate having genin sometimes. They just take the fun out of things. Damn it. Well, can't drone on it forever, I guess. I'll just have to do my part to make sure Kurenai is the best damn proctor ever. With those thoughts in mind, Anko hurried off in the direction of her best friend's apartment. After the meeting, Yuhi Kurenai went out to dinner with her fellow jonin, Sarutobi Asuma. When they finished, Kurenai went back home to relax and go to sleep. As she walked up to her apartment, she noticed a scroll on her door. A kunai was stabbed into it, holding it up. Curiously, Kurenai took the scroll, opened it, and started to read. How to be a badass proctor for the exams. She read in confusion before continuing to read. So, you think you have what it takes to be a proctor for the Chunin exams, huh? Well, don't be so cocky. You have a lot of responsibility, monitoring unruly genin from all over the damn world. It's a hard job and most shinobi can't take it. But you really think you can? Well, then let me give you some helpful advice. Follow my guide and I guarantee you'll be one step closer to being a badass proctor. Step 1. The entrance. When you introduce yourself, make it flashy. Stand out. You want to surprise the genin. Make them realize what kind of shinobi you are, an awesome one. Signs and breaking glass are a personal favorite of mine, but feel free to be creative. Step 2. You. Remember that you are the proctor. You are the one with a higher rank. You are the one who has control over them. They have no control at all. Remind them of this. Make sure they know that they should fear you. Step 3. The killing intent. Release it. Oh, for the love of God, release it. These genin need to know what they are dealing with. It's a dark, cruel world in the life of shinobi, and the faster they realize it, the better. Do your part and make sure they realize. Step 4. Stupidity. Genin are stupid. They are very stupid and say very stupid things. A stupid mouth can get you killed, so show them that. When you have the urge to show a brat a lesson, don't restrain yourself, go for it. Snap at them, release more killing intent, cut them, etc. Do something. Show those brats the price of stupidity. Step 5. The forest. Oh, training ground 44, how I love thee. It's nicknamed the Forest of Death for a few reasons. Let the brats know every single reason. These are all the steps that I, the glorious author, can think of at the moment. Have any questions? Please stop by Training Ground 17 or the author's apartment to ask away. Have a good night. Mitarashi Anko, Sensei of Teen 3, Best Chunin Exam Proctor Ever, Badass Writer. Yuhi Kurenai stared at the scroll in her hands for a little over a minute before she tossed it to the side and face-palmed. Why did I accept this job again? She questioned as she went off to bed. The Genjutsu mistress of Konoha was now going to bed with a large headache. Chapter 14, The Exams Begin. There's a lot of people here. Hinata mumbled to her team. The members of Team 3 walked into the examination room and were greeted by the sight of hundreds of genin. The genin ranged from different villages, ages, and appearances. Collectively, the group was intimidating to anyone who walked in. Nearly all eyes in this intimidating group were staring at the members of Team 3. I knew there would be lots of competition, but damn. This is going to be such a drag. Shikamaru groaned. Heh. Sure. Naruto laughed, his voice a contradictory mixture of confidence and uneasiness. The three friends walked further into the room, ignoring all the eyes on them the best that they could. They were about to take some empty seats when they heard yelling. Hands off Ino pig. He's not yours. Shut up, forehead. Stop being jealous of our true love. I recognize that annoying shouting anywhere. Shikamaru grumbled. Team 3 walked in the direction of the yelling and found the sources, Yamanaka Ino and Hirono Sakura. The blonde and the pink-haired girls were shouting at each other while clinging on to Uchiha Sasuke, who seemed more annoyed than usual. That's really annoying. Naruto mumbled, rubbing his ears. He hadn't spent much time around the two girls recently, so their combined noise hurt his ears. And improper. Hinata frowned. She didn't act like that around Naruto, so why did they do that to Sasuke? I almost feel sorry for him. Shikamaru added, rubbing his own ears. Same here. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru turned around and saw three guys approaching them, Akimichi Choji holding a bag of chips, Aburame Shino, and Inuzuka Kiba with Akamaru on his head. Choji. Naruto cheered, rushing up to his friend and gave him a high five. Great to see you again, Databeo. He then turned to the other two guys. You too, Shino, Kiba. What's up, Naruto? Been a while. Kiba noted. Akamaru barked in agreement. Good to see you too, Hinata. Shikamaru noticed that Kiba didn't greet him. Probably still pissed at me. Whatever. The Nara shrugged before walking over to Choji to talk to him. How long have they been fighting like this? Hinata asked. 3 minutes, 27 seconds. Shino answered immediately. We've been counting. Choji stated while holding out his bag of chips to Shikamaru. Troublesome. Only those two would fight over him in a place like this. Shikamaru replied as he took a chip from his friend's bag. The Akimichi laughed in response. While the group of 6 talked, Sasuke was watching and progressively getting more annoyed. It was starting to show on his face, not that the 2 screaming kunoichi attached to him noticed. He wasn't one for conversation, but if it meant getting away from the screaming girls, he would talk for hours. With that mindset, Sasuke pushed Sakura and Ino off his arms and walked up to other 6 rookie genin. "Look who got away." Kiba laughed. "You alright?" "Humph. Humph." Sasuke grumbled, which the Inuzuka translated to "I'll live." "Long time no see, team," Naruto said, a smirk on his face. The Uchiha returned the smirk. "Dope. Will you guys keep it down?" Everyone, even Sakura and Ino who had just walked over to the group, turned to face the new voice. It belonged to a Konoha shinobi wearing a purple shirt, a white undershirt, dark purple fingerless gloves, and dark purple pants. The shinobi was also wearing a pair of glasses. "You're rookies, aren't you? You're making a lot of noise and drawing a lot of attention. I'd try and be a little quiet if I were you," the glasses-wearing shinobi recommended. Some of the other genin, like the ones from AIM, are a little bit antsy, and are looking for a reason to get in a fight. "And you are?" Sasuke asked the stranger harshly. "I'm Yakushi Kabuto," he greeted, a smile on his face. "Kabuto-san, you seem to know a lot about the exams," Sakura noted, talking much quieter than before. "Is this your second time taking them?" "Actually, it's my 7th. Kabuto answered, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. "7th? That says a lot about your skill," Shikamaru mumbled under his breath. The glasses-wearing shinobi was able to hear the Nara's comment, causing him to frown. "Don't say that. These exams are tough. Most people don't pass their first few times, and a few of them actually die. The exams, as well as the competition, are pretty overwhelming." "As seriously?" Choji gulped. "Yeah. The exams are tough. But hey, maybe I can help you guys out a little," Kabuto said as he pulled out a set of orange cards from a pocket. "With my ninja info cards." "What the heck are those?" Sakura asked. "Ninja info cards." Kabuto chuckled. "They're chakra encoded and hold all the data I've acquired from my past exams. They have everything from information on the exams to the number of genin from each village to information on the other genin." The eyes of the rookies widened as they gave Kabuto their full attention. Naruto was the first to speak up. "So, can I ask you about someone? What do you get on Sabaku no Gaara from Suna?" he asked. "Ha!" Shikamaru and Hinata both looked at their teammate with confusion. "Naruto/Naruto-kun, who is that? I'd also like to know about Rock Lee from Konoha," Sasuke added, interrupting Naruto before he could answer. "Hell, if you're looking up people, do me a favor as well. What do you know about Kuratsuchi from IWA?" Kiba asked. Shikamaru had then turned his attention away from Naruto to Kiba. The Nara then sighed. "Yup, still pissed off about that run-in. Kiba, you're troublesome," he inwardly grumbled. "What? Kuratsuchi's here?" Naruto's eyes widened at the information. "Does that mean her team's here? Is Hanni here? You all know the names already? That's boring." Kabuto sighed in mock disapproval. "But yeah, I can get the information. First up will be the IWA shinobi first, because I'm curious myself about any genin that IWA would send to Konoha." Kabuto pulled out a card and then put his chakra into it. He then stared at it for a few seconds and whistled in approval. "Well then, this is interesting. Kuratsuchi is the granddaughter of the current Tsuchikage, Anoki." The rookies outside of Team 3 all had wide eyes after hearing that. Her teammates are Kuragain Risho and Yawamushi Roto, and her sensei is the infamous Yuga no Han. They've completed 8 D-ranked missions, 12 C-ranked missions, and 1 B-ranked mission. She has above-average skills across the board, with her main specialties being ninjutsu and tactics. She also possesses a Kekii Genkai, the lava release. Damn. Kiba mumbled in shock. He didn't expect that Iwa Kunoichi to be that tough. Choji, Sakura, and Ino agreed with Kiba's thoughts. She'll be competition. Definitely someone worth fighting to test myself. Sasuke noted, a smirk on his face. I didn't realize Kuratsuchi was that tough. Naruto mumbled to his friends. It makes sense though. Hinata replied, equally as impressed. Shikamaru only nodded in agreement. Something about the information bothered him, but it wasn't Kuratsuchi's skills. It had more to do with the information source, and how he obtained said information. How the fuck does that four-eyed Konoha guy know all that? Kuratsuchi hissed under breath. Han's Chunin team had been listening in on the conversation between the rookies and Kabuto. Nearly every shinobi in the room was. However, the second Kabuto mentioned her information, eyes were now directed on them. A couple of the various shinobi were glaring in their general direction. Some were sizing them up. The team had now received more attention, something they did not want. If he has all of that on you, then he probably has that much info on all of us. Roto replied, shaking a little from nerves. That's kinda creepy. And scary. How does he know all of this stuff? I've never even seen him before. Is he some stalker? Oh, I'm sure I'd enjoy cutting off his head. Risho growled, raising his hand to his sword on instinct. Risho. Kuratsuchi hissed. She and Roto glared at their teammate. Don't get us in trouble yet. Humph. The Kurogane grumbled. Wasn't going to. But you all have to agree that there is something wrong with him. He's more than just some nice veteran helping rookies. He knows things he shouldn't. There's more to him than it seems and I don't like it. Roto and Kuratsuchi only nodded in agreement. And there we have it. Kabuto noted, putting away another card. The rookies were staring at the older Konoha shinobi with shocked eyes. He had just described the profiles of the other two ninja. While Rock Lee seemed to moderately impress them, Sabaku no Gaara had a completely opposite effect. The Suna Genin had taken no injuries during his entire career so far, even during a B-ranked mission. All 9 rookies were stunned at that revelation. How is that possible? That's not right. Naruto questioned in his head. Gaara had unnerved him earlier with his attitude and killing intent, but now, the boy was downright terrifying. If I run into him, I'll probably have to actually use the fox's power. Wish I could use more of its chakra though. Naruto barely listened into the conversation going on. He heard Kabuto discuss more exam protocol and talk about village. He also caught a slight comment about the size of Otogekure, a newly formed hidden village that had sent only one Genin team to the exam. It was then that Naruto stopped paying attention completely. He saw something that distracted him. The Oto Genin were approaching them from in the crowd of the Genin, and they looked ready to attack. Hey Kabuto, watch out! He called out. Kabuto turned to Naruto for a second before noticing the Oto Genin approaching. He dodged a kunai that was tossed at him from the spiky-haired Oto ninja and barely avoided a punch from a Genin that was wrapped in bandages. You seem pretty anxious. Kabuto noted as he adjusted his glasses to study the Genin more. At that moment, his glasses shattered. HRK. The elder Konoha shinobi then fell to the ground and clutched his stomach. Add this to your cards, the team from Otogekure will become Chunin at the end of the exams. The bandaged-wearing guy stated. Naruto's earlier fears were dispelled. He was now simply angry at a group who would attack a fellow Konoha shinobi for no true reason than to show off. He may have just met Kabuto, but he didn't deserve that. What kind of jackasses do you think you are? He shouted. Brats like you should stay quiet. The spiky-haired boy taunted. He wore a beige shirt that had the kanji for death written on it. Shut up or I can make you shut up. And how dash. Naruto's sentence was interrupted by a loud explosion in the center of the room. A man appeared from the explosion in a poof of smoke. He was a tall, burly man in a black trench jacket with a gray shirt underneath. He wore a Konoha forehead protector over the top of his head and had 2 scars running down his face. All right, you maggots, shut up. The man shouted. All eyes were on him. I am Marino Ibiki, and your first exam starts now. Shit, shit. Naruto continued to curse inwardly. It had only been 15 minutes since Ibiki arrived in the room. In that time, he had all the students take seats while he explained that the first exam was a written test. Naruto had started to panic when he heard this. His worries increased when he heard about the penalties for being caught cheating, and they nearly tripled when he learned that a whole team would fail if one member failed. His fear reached an all-time high, however, when we started to actually look at the paper at the start of the exam. I don't know any of this. Like at all. He hissed. The blonde Uzumaki was sweating. There was no way he was going to let a written test of all things stop him and his friends from continuing in the exam. There was no way. I'm going to have to cheat. There's no other way. I just have to be very, very careful. Naruto thought. None of my clones can help me here. Maybe the great breakthrough? Naruto sat for a few seconds trying to figure out how to use his wind-style jutsu to help him cheat when he felt his body stiffen. He tried to move, but he couldn't. His eyes widened. He then felt himself pick up his pencil, and he started to write answers down quickly, answers that he did not comprehend. What the hell is going on? What am I writing? It's like someone has control of my body. Oh. Naruto realized what was going and gasped inwardly. A smirk then appeared on his face. Ha! Good thinking, Shikamaru. After Naruto wrote the answer for the 9th question, he felt control return to his body. He then turned around and looked at the genin taking the exam. 2 tables behind him, he saw Shikamaru. The Nara gave Naruto a thumbs up before he laid his head down on his table. Naruto mentally thanked the boy before he faced forward. In his peripheral vision, he could see Hinata a few tables to his left. She was currently filling down answers rapidly. Naruto noticed her Byakugan eyes activated, showing him how she was getting the answers. What was I worried about? The Uzumaki questioned himself. We're good. Now relaxed and no longer worried, he mimicked his Nara friend and laid his head down before drifting off to sleep. All right, it is now time for the 10th question. Ibiki shouted. Naruto grumbled as he lifted his head from the table. It took him a second to readjust himself before he focused his attention on the exam proctor. Before we begin, though, I must explain a few more rules about this question. The first rule is that you have the option not to answer the 10th question. He informed them. Naruto seemed confused. What happens if we don't take it? An aimed genin asked. If you do not, then you lose all your points and you and your team will fail the exam. The proctor answered. Multiple genin snorted in near unison. As they saw it, there was no reason to forfeit the question at all. Shikamaru, however, was not like most. He groaned, realizing something. So, what happens if we take it? The Nara questioned himself. Ibiki answered his mental question. If you do choose to take the question, and you get it wrong, you will be unable to enter the Chunin exams ever again in any village. What? Naruto shouted. The genin all screamed simultaneously, some in fright and others in anger. That's bullshit. Kiba's scream was louder than the others. I know plenty of people who've taken the exams multiple times before. Some are here right now. You can't do that to any of us. Well, tough luck. You picked a bad year to apply. I made the rules this year, and my rules stand. Ibiki said with finality. Now, will you all shut up? The genin quieted down a little, causing a sadistic grin to appear on Ibiki's face. I've given you all your options. If you wish to quit, then raise your hand. We will confirm your team number, and you and your team will leave the room and the exam. Now, who wishes to quit? A hand is raised quickly by a Konoha genin. He and his team are then removed from the exam room. More genin follow behind. Team after team started to walk away from the exam room. Naruto watched the scene with annoyance. He had to bite his tongue and prevent himself from snapping at the proctor for his rules. He might have started yelling a few months ago, but now, with a little more maturity beat into him from his friends and his sensei, he sat in silence and fumed in his head. A minute passed and the room had lost multiple teams. Ibiki noticed that the genin in the room seemed to be focused on the exam. Still, there were a little too many for his liking. Is that all? If you fail this question, you will lose the opportunity to advance past genin. Ibiki reminded everyone. No one moved. They all stared at the proctor with anticipation. Naruto was also staring with annoyance. Ibiki did the math in his head. 24 teams, huh? Higher than I expected. But they all have guts. This year actually looks promising. A smirk then appeared on his face with that thought. You've all decided to stay? Very well then I must congratulate you all on passing the first exam. Ibiki said to the group. The room was silent. Then, ha! Roto asked, confused. What about the 10th question? There was no 10th question. The question was whether you decided to risk your career and answer it. Ibiki answered. So, you passed us just because we all decided to risk it? Temari asked, confused herself. Correct. The ninja world is full of risks. In the future, as Chunin, you will be assigned missions with little information about the situation. Would you take the mission, risking yourself, or would you play it safe and take safer, easier missions while letting your comrades risk their lives? Anyone who would not take the risk, and anyone who would not answer the 10th question, has no right to call themselves Chunin. He answered bluntly. So that was the point of the exam? Then why did you waste our time with the first 9 questions? Kiba asked with annoyance. I did not waste your time. Ibiki glared, causing Kiba and his dog to shiver. Those questions had 2 purposes: weed out weak-minded shinobi, as well as test your skills as information gatherers. The questions were designed to a level that no ordinary genin could answer them on their own. You would need to cheat to stand a chance. That was a test as well. We put in a few Chunin plants to be sources of information, and we're trying to see if you all could gather the information needed for the test. Ah, I see. That explains a lot. Naruto realized. He then frowned, remembering how he got his answers. I'm going to have to work on some more techniques. I can't rely on my teammates too much. I'm impressed, Ibiki-san. You're pretty good at explaining those lessons. Hopefully these genin take your words to heart. A new voice spoke up. The genin gasped and started to look around for the source of the voice, trying to figure out who was speaking. That voice, is that? Hinata's eyes widened, recognizing the speaker. You can come out, you know. No point to hide under your genjutsu any longer. Ibiki noted. As if on cue with his words, the corner of the room started to change. Originally, there was nothing. Now, there was a large banner with the words Yuhi Kurenai, second exam proctor on it. Standing in front of the banner, Kurenai herself. I was right. Kurenai-san. Hinata recognized her immediately. She's pretty hot. Most of the male genin thought. Kiba and Kankuro were nearly drooling. You have a banner? I thought you were above things like that. Then again, considering who your best friend is, I'm not surprised. Ibiki sighed. I just wanted to stand out a little. Kurenai answered, a polite smile on her face. Ibiki-san, I must ask a question though. Did you go easy on them? Because I was honestly expecting less genin. Nope. You saw me at work. The first exam proctor had a smirk on his face. We've got a good crop of candidates this year. The second exam proctor studied them hard. We'll see. I'll take your word for it. But after my exam the number will be down by half. A shiver went down the backs of the genin. Half? Hinata repeated the word. This exam gets better and better each second. Shikamaru groaned. Well, allow me to introduce myself to you all. I'm Yuhi Kurenai, proctor of the second exam. Kurenai introduced herself, pointing to her banner. Now, the second exam will begin in approximately 2 hours. Meet me at training ground 44 then. Anyone late will be disqualified. With those words, Kurenai and her banner disappeared in a poof of smoke, leaving the genin to themselves. They had passed the first exam, but they were far from over. Welcome to training ground 44, the Forest of Death. Kurenai stated. The genin all stared in awe, and a few in fright, at the forest in front of them. Tall, overgrown trees covered the area entirely. It was impossible to see past the trees in the front of the forest. A wire fence surrounded the entire fence and blocked it off. There were gates scattered throughout the fence with locks covering it. The sight of the fence was intimidating to the genin. The second exam will begin shortly. It will take place inside this forest, and is essentially a survival mission. Kurenai explained. She reached into a pack on her back and pulled out 2 scrolls. One scroll had the kanji for earth on it while the other possessed the kanji for heaven. Before you enter the forest, each team will be handed either a heaven or earth scroll. Your goal is to reach a tower in the center of the forest after collecting a pair of the scrolls. You must obtain the opposite scroll through finding another team with the scroll and taking it from them. There are 24 teams here. Therefore, there will be 24 scrolls distributed, 12 pairs of scrolls. The proctor added. Wait, so that means that at best, only half the teams will make it past the exam. Sakura gasped at the revelation. The red-eyed Jonin nodded. Correct, but that's a best-case scenario for you guys. That will most likely not happen. It will most likely be less than half and potentially even less than a fourth. A couple of genin gulped at the information. Also just saying, you can try and take the scroll through any means necessary. That means that you are allowed to kill in this exam if you feel the need to. Kurenai added. Even more genin were getting scared. Gaara, however, heard the news and grinned. This exam also has a time limit of 5 days. You must have obtained a pair of scrolls and reached the center of the tower before then to pass. The proctor continued. There are 2 ways you can fail this exam other than just failing to complete it. The first is if you open the scrolls before you reach the tower. Doing so in the middle of the forest will not be very fun for you all. The second is if a member of team dies in the forest. So that's the exam. What's the deal with the forest? A voice asked. Kurenai and the genin all focused on the source of the voice. She was a blue-eyed kunoichi with short red hair wearing a brown skin-tight shirt that showed off her curves and black pants and sandals. On her back was a long scythe that reached just below her hair. She also had a taki forehead protector on over her forehead. The deal with the forest? Kurenai repeated her question. Yeah. Honestly, it doesn't seem that bad. Just big trees and stuff. I've seen worse on a few missions. She shrugged. Kurenai noticed that the other genin seemed to lighten up at her words. She knew she had to do something about her and her confidence. What's your name? She asked. Mine? The Taki Kunoichi asked. Asuna. Kariyoto Asuna. You are not that nervous about the forest, Asuna-san? Kurenai asked, a disturbingly sweet smile appearing on her face. She gestured her finger ever so slightly in the direction of the Taki Kunoichi and casting a genjutsu on her. Can you tell us what you think is in the forest? Asuna opened her mouth to answer that question when all of a sudden, her eyes widened in shock. She then fell to the ground on her knees and looked like she was going to throw up. There are gigantic venomous spiders and tigers and other deadly animals. And poisonous plants. And nearly everything in the forest is deadly. She mumbled in fright. Kurenai actually smirked a tad, especially as she noticed that the other genin were becoming paranoid again. Anko was right. Messing with these genin is kinda fun. The snake mistress was rubbing off on her a little too much. Scattered chatter spread across the other genin as they discussed all the information they had received on the forest and the exam. A few seconds passed before Kurenai spoke up again. Alright, I'm going to call all the teams up at once. You all will come up here and will sign a release form stating that Konoha is not at fault for any deaths or injuries that could occur. Once you sign the form, you will receive your scroll and be escorted to your gate. The exam will begin in less than an hour. She stated. Now, for the first team. One by one each team went up, signed the forms, received their scrolls, and went off to their gate. They all stood there and waited. The exam was about to begin. 5 days without food. Choji mumbled in fright. Will you shut up already? Ino hissed. Is food all you can really think about? Choji-san, you don't have to be worried about the food. Why you ask? Because there will be plenty of animals and plants that we can eat in the forest. We will not starve. Shino noted. MPH. The Akimichi frowned. I know. So stop moping and help us think about how we are getting another scroll. Ino stated. It would be wise of us to lay a trap. I believe I can set up one in the forest, since I am familiar with and can work with many of the insect species that reside in this forest. Shino offered his 2 cents. If you say so. Ino shivered. Even after months of working, she was still bothered by her insect-using teammate. Alright guys, let me lead. This is my specialty. Kiba informed his teammates. Akamaru barked in agreement. I'm fine with that. You use your nose and lead us to another team. Then we ambush them and take their scroll. Sasuke smirked. It's a simple plan, but it should work. Right. Sakura agreed. She saw the logic and agreed with it. She also knew that Kiba was not weak. After the mission in Wave, we can handle anything. This exam will be cake. The Inuzuka proclaimed confidently with a grin. Stay out of my way. I'll handle this exam. Gaara ordered his teammates. Alright. Of course, Gaara. Kankuro replied nervously. Temari said nothing. She only sighed in annoyance and boredom. There was no reason for her to do anything. Gaara could take on every genin in this forest. This was too easy and boring for her. Thanks to that stupid Four Eyes guy, I think we have enough of a target on us already. Risho grumbled. Honestly, there's no need to try and hunt someone down. They'll find us first. Yeah, I know. Sucks too, 'cause I was looking forward to testing out my stealth. Roto sighed. Oh well. Not that it matters much in the long run. We can take anyone on. Of course. Kuratsuchi nodded in agreement. A grin on her face. I'm excited. Let's bring it. Let the action begin already. We're going to have to be careful. We'll have to watch each other's backs at every second. Hinata noted with a frown. Naruto nodded. I'll make a couple of clones when we get in and scout the area around us. They'll keep us alert about the other teams and deadly animals and stuff. Not too bad of an idea, Naruto. Shikamaru agreed. They'll give us a better idea of what's going on around us and help prevent us from being ambushed. Hell, they'll probably help us ambush someone else. I'll also be a Kugen active. Hinata added. Right. No one will sneak up on us, Databeo. Naruto grinned. I'll also see if I can make some false scrolls. The Nara said as he stared at their earth scroll. Maybe some rigged with exploding tags? Whatever you can do would be great. The blonde agreed. Team 3 continued their discussion, working out their plans for the exam. The remaining teams continued to discuss with their teammates about their plans on how they would obtain the opposing scroll. Only one team was an exception, a team from Kusagakure. The kunoichi on the team was staring into the forest with anticipation in her eyes. No thoughts about the exam crossed her mind. First things first, find Sasuke and his team and give him my seal. Bring him and his eyes one step closer to my grasp. She laughed to herself. After that, I may go stop by and see what kind of team Enko-chan has trained. I'm sure they will be entertaining at least. Ha ha ha, such a busy day. She continued to laugh in her head. Chapter 15, The Forest from Hell. It is now time. The second part of the Chunin exams starts now. Kurenai's voice boomed throughout the area. The gates surrounding Training Ground 44 were opened. All Chunin teams rushed into the forest quickly. Team 3 went in and kept moving until they reached a good distance away from the entrance. They stopped in front of one of the multiple large trees in the forest and Shikamaru sat down and took out a few scrolls. Alright, this shouldn't take too long. I'm just going to make 2 or 3 false scrolls that we lose if we needed to, only they'll be loaded with explosive tags. Shikamaru stated with a smirk. Take your time. Hinata stated as she activated her Byakugan to keep track of any teams that could come in and ambush them. She then turned to her crush. Naruto-kun? Right. Naruto nodded in understanding before making a hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 10 clones appeared from in front of the genin. Alright guys, search the forest and find a team with a heaven scroll. When you find one, report back to us and we'll hunt them down. The Uzumaki ordered. Databeo. The clones chorused in unison before heading out in different directions. Guess the exam is on. Shikamaru mumbled as he studied the outside of the earth scroll, trying to figure out he was going to recreate it. 30 minutes had passed since the exam began. In a clearing near on the gates, 2 teams had already found each other. Han's genin were standing next to each other, ready for battle. Across from them was a team from Amigakure. They were an all-male team. One member of the team, a tall guy with steel umbrellas on his back, stepped forward towards the IWA team. You guys didn't even try to hide. You were waiting for us. He noted. We figured we didn't need to hide. Why waste the time looking for someone when you can just wait? Some team was going to find us and try and attack. Kuratsuchi explained, a grin on her face. I see. Makes sense. Guess it was just bad luck that we were the ones to find you all. The AIM genin said with a smirk as he held his hand out. Why don't you guys hand over your scroll? We won't have to hurt you all this way. Humph. Get a load of this guy. Risho snickered to himself. We're being threatened by a genin from a minor village that's been going through civil war for years. This is rich. A Konoha team would actually be more threatening than you. What? The AIM genin hissed. Shigeru, kick his ass. One of his teammates shouted. The other teammate nodded in agreement. The guy, Shigeru, nodded before he took an umbrella off from his back. You know, we almost went after a team from Suna instead, but I'm glad we went for you all. I'm going to enjoy taking that scroll from your corpse. He hissed before tossing the umbrella into the air and making a hand sign. Ninja art, Senbon shower. Senbon rained down from the umbrella towards the IWA genin. Risho stepped forward for his team and raised his right hand. The Senbon stopped in place. The hell? One of the AIM genin gasped. My chakra controls those. What the fuck did you do? Shigeru hissed as he tried to force the Senbon to keep moving. His attempt failed and the Senbon stayed in place. Risho continued to snicker before raising his left hand. The Senbon immediately changed directions, causing Shigeru and his teammates to sweat. Kuratsuchi, Roto, I'll handle this trash myself. Risho informed his team as he made a pushing motion with his hands. This is what happens when you try to attack an IWA shinobi. Kurenai was sitting down near the entrance to the Forest of Death reading a book when she heard a loud scream from the forest. She looked towards the training ground for a moment before chuckling quietly to herself. Looks like a team just lost their scroll, she noted. The exam proctor immediately turned back to her book and continued to read. I'll finish this chapter, then I'll head to the tower. Some of the faster teams will be there relatively soon, she thought as she turned to the next page. Now, where was I? The Tenkage picked up his staff and headed out into his village. He could sense the intruder in the marketplace. He needed to act quick before the intruder caused any harm. The Tenkage intended on showing the world that no enemy shinobi could enter Tengaka no Sato and escape with their life. He arrived. Kurenai-san. A voice called. Kurenai sighed as she put her book away as she faced the Chunin that called her. At first, she was annoyed that she was being interrupted, but then she noticed the serious and upset look to the Chunin in front of her. Something happened. What's going on? She asked, getting up from her seat. We have a problem. You need to see this. The Chunin informed her before running off. Kurenai followed right behind. Team 7 marched forwards through the Forest of Death at a rapid pace. Kiba and Akamaru led the team. The Inuzuka and his dog were silent, they were focused since the beginning of the exam. Eventually, though, Kiba spoke up. All right guys, I found someone, he exclaimed. Just a little bit to our east. Good job, Kiba, Sakura said happily. This part of the exam will be a piece of cake thanks to you. Lead the way, dog boy, Sasuke stated. Just see if you can keep up, you prick, Kiba muttered under his breath. I hate it when he calls me that. The team started to move in the direction of the scent when Kiba stopped. He started to pick up another scent. A frown appeared on his face. I smell a snake, he mumbled to himself. His eyes then widened. Oh shit, the smell's getting strong. The Inuzuka didn't get to finish his sentence. A large snake came crashing towards them. It destroyed multiple trees and sent the 3 genin back. Naruto's clones moved quickly throughout the forest in their search to find information about the other teams. One of the clones was approaching a clearing near a river when he heard a loud noise. An excited look appeared on his face. That's gotta be a team. Boss will want to know what scroll they have, the clone told himself before running off in the direction of the noise. Naruto's clone reached a clearing and hid behind a bush. He saw a giant ball of sand in the sky. Sand was slowly falling back to the ground. The clone noticed that it was stained in blood. What the? He gasped. He looked downward and saw 5 people. The team from Suna that Naruto had met earlier was there. Gaara was standing in front of Kankuro and Temari. They were all facing 2 Kusa shinobi, both of whom seemed terrified and near hysterics. Please, spare us, one of the Kusa ninjas mumbled as she pulled out an earth scroll and tossed it forwards. Temari caught the scroll. Just take the scrolls and let us live. Your teammate was weak. Gaara mumbled quietly. I'm not satisfied. There needs to be more blood. The redhead genin raised his hands and more sand covered the Kusa genin. Both shinobi screamed in panic. Tears were rolling down their eyes as the sand that covered them was lifted into the sky. Sand burial, Gaara said, closing his hands. The sand crushed the two Kusa genin, killing them instantly. Their blood rained down throughout the clearing. Most of the blood landed on Gaara's body, causing him to grin maniacally. He killed them. Naruto's clone made a noise, holding back the urge to throw up. The Suna team heard him. Who was there? Kankuro asked. Damn it. The clone cursed to himself as it prepared to run. Die. Gaara shouted as he moved his hands toward the bush, causing sand to rush towards it. Naruto's clone attempted to run away, but the sand was too fast. The sand stuck him on his back and pinned him to the ground. The force of the sand proved too much and the clone dispelled. The original Naruto's eyes widened. He fell to the ground on his knees, which alarmed his teammates. Naruto-kun. Hinata ran over to him. Are you okay? Why yeah, I think. The blonde replied as he pulled himself up with Hinata's help. I felt like I was dying for a second. Dying? The Hyuga was started to get very nervous for him. Why? How? What happened? I don't know. Something flashed by in my head, kinda like a memory or something. All of a sudden, I saw Gaara in front of me. I saw him kill two genin from Kusa. I then saw him attack me and sand was hitting me hard. And then, my memory stopped. Naruto mumbled. I know that never happened, but I don't know how I could have imagined that. And the thing that really bothers me was that it felt so real. Hinata seemed confused, but didn't seem any less concerned. Has anything like that happened before? Shikamaru asked. A hypothesis was started to develop in his head. Not really. I think I've had some flashes when I'm fighting or sparring, but nothing like that. They all usually relate to the battle or the spar. Naruto answered. I think you saw the memory of one of your shadow clones. The Nara stated. What? Naruto looked at his friend in surprise. Hinata turned to face him as well. My dad mentioned once a long time ago that shadow clones were perfect for information gathering. I think I know how now. Shikamaru stated. If I'm right, when your clones dispel, you get their memories back. You see and feel what they did. Really? Naruto seemingly forgot the feelings of his memory, and was now simply excited at the news. That's so cool. That just makes this jutsu more awesome, Databayo. I can't believe I never noticed that before. You only make clones really for battles and, even then, you make hundreds of them. The chaos of the fights probably doesn't give you the time to analyze any memories you may gain. The lazy boy replied. I see. So cool though. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki exclaimed. His excitement soon faded though, and his face turned serious. But in all seriousness, I saw Gaara kill a team quickly, and it was one of the bloodiest things I've ever seen. And I felt him attack me. He's more dangerous than I thought. We have to try and avoid him and his team at all costs, and if we do have to fight him, we'll have to be beyond careful. Both Hinata and Shikamaru nodded in understanding. It was rare when Naruto was completely serious. They knew that he meant every word he said, and that they would have to be extremely cautious around that Suna team. Yuhi Kurenai was a very calm and collected person. Very few things were able to surprise and unnerve her. Seeing the bodies of 3 Kusagakure shinobi was enough to surprise her. Seeing the state of these bodies was enough to unnerve her. What happened to their faces? She asked. We don't know. We're still trying to figure that out. The Chunin answered with a frown. Kurenai frowned as well. She looked at the profiles of the Kusa shinobi. She remembered them. She remembered giving this team an earth scroll before the second exam started. If they were dead, then who did she give the scroll to? Who was in the forest? An idea entered her head. She immediately turned towards the Chunin. Alert the Hokage of this and request Umbu assistance. I believe their murderer is in the forest, and I'm going to go after him. Kurenai ordered. Yes, ma'am. The Chunin nodded before disappearing in a shunshin. Kurenai rushed into the forest and began her search to find the murderer. A pale-faced man stood on a tree branch and stared at Team 7. Kiba was knocked unconscious. Akamaru was trying to help his comrade in any way he could. Sasuke was screaming in pain as he held on to his neck. Sakura was staring at the Uchiha with multiple different emotions: fear, distress, anguish, rage. What did you do to Sasuke? She asked the man. I just gave Sasuke-kun a little gift. I'm sure he'll enjoy it. The man chuckled, his voice sending a shiver down Sakura's spine. My name is Orochimaru. Sasuke-kun has experienced a taste of my power, and soon he'll come to me to get more. With those words, Orochimaru ran off, leaving Sakura and Akamaru alone with two unconscious genin. Their assailant was now moving quickly through the forest with a grin on his face. Sasuke-kun was impressive. And he will only get stronger as time passes. He will make a perfect host. Orochimaru noted. Now, I have some spare time before my presence is known. Looks like I will have the time to see Anko-chan's little brats after all. The man continued to move quickly through the forest. As he moved, he bit his thumb and proceeded to make hand signs. All right, I'm done. Shikamaru stated with a groan. That took way longer than I thought it would. Naruto and Hinata went over to their friend and checked his work. The Nara had created 3 additional scrolls that looked similar to their Earth scroll. Inside these fake scrolls, however, were exploding tags. Altogether, they now had 4 scrolls, 1 real and 3 they could lose if they needed to. Great job, Shikamaru. Hopefully we won't have to really use them, but it's good to have them just in case. Naruto said excitedly. You're telling me. Can't hurt to be too careful. Shikamaru replied with a smirk on his face. So are we just going to wait for one of the clones to come back? It's probably for the best. Hinata noted. If they take too long, then we can just go out and look on our own. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. The Uzumaki agreed. Of course, you were Naruto. Shikamaru said with an eye roll. Shut up. Naruto snapped at Shikamaru's sarcasm. I didn't say anything bad. I was agreeing with you. The Nara noted with a smirk on his face. Hinata giggled as the two boys continued to argue about Shikamaru's sarcasm. Her giggling stopped when she noticed something in the distance with her Byakugan. She focused on it and noticed that it was heading towards them. Guys. Something's coming. She said loudly. Her 2 teammates immediately shut up and turned to her. What is it? Are we getting ambushed? Naruto asked as he prepared for combat. I don't think so. It's not human. It's Dash. Hinata wasn't able to finish her sentence. A giant snake appeared from a few trees in front of them and charged at them. The 3 genin jumped out of the way just in time and jumped to a high branch of a tree. The snake turned towards them, hissed, and charged again. That snake looks like one of Anko-sensei's summons. Naruto said in surprise. Great. So giant snakes like that live in this forest. Shikamaru grumbled. Let's get this over with. The snake charged upwards at them, this time moving faster. Team 3 jumped out of the way again, but the snake predicted this and swung its tail at them. The tail made contact and knocked all 3 genin back, causing them to hit 3 separate tree trunks hard. The snake then charged again, this time at Shikamaru. The Nara pulled himself up just as the snake opened its mouth in an attempt to devour him. Shit. Got to act fast and stop this thing for a sec. Shikamaru's brain was working at full speed as he pulled out of one of the fake scrolls and tossed it into the snake's mouth. He immediately triggered the tags inside it, causing it to explode just before the snake could reach him. The giant snake writhed in pain. Shikamaru took this time to jump over to his teammates. That should stun it for a little bit. Want to try that trick we thought of? The lazy genius asked. Naruto and Hinata knew exactly what their friend was referring to, a combination attack he suggested during group training. Of course. Let's do it, Databeo. Naruto exclaimed as he made the hand signs. His teammates joined him. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Wind style, Great Breakthrough. Water style, Gunshot. The three friends released their jutsus at the same time and combined into one elemental blast. Naruto's wind jutsu surrounded Shikamaru's fireballs, increasing their size. Hinata's water bullets surrounded the wind. The attack took the form of an elemental tornado, which struck the snake hard. It hissed loudly in pain for a few seconds before it disappeared. Was that a summon? Hinata asked nervously. Before her teammates could answer, a noise sounded throughout the area, a clapping noise. The three turned around to see a pale-faced man standing on a tree branch clapping in applause. Hinata's Byakugan eyes were open wide in pure shock. I didn't even see him get this close to us. And that chakra, this couldn't even be a simple jonin. Who is this? I must say, I'm very impressed. To defeat any summoned snake so quickly is impressive. The man spoke with an amused grin. But I wonder how you would do against a more dangerous snake. You summoned that snake? How? Naruto questioned in surprise. Who are you? You don't know me? How upsetting. The man said with fake disappointment in his voice. I assumed Anko-chan would talk to her students about her sensei. Anko's sensei? Naruto's eyes widened. She never spoke of her time as a genin. This man was... Shikamaru was piecing information together faster than his teammates. He remembered through studying at the academy that there was only one other known snake summoner, an infamous traitor. His eyes opened wide and a terrified look appeared in them. Naruto. Hinata. We have to get out of here. Shikamaru shouted. That's Orochimaru of the Sannin. We don't stand a chance against him. Both Genin's eyes widened. Both, even Naruto, recognized the name of Konoha's most infamous missing ninja. So, you do recognize me? Orochimaru's grin grew wider and more sadistic. I was interested when I heard Anko-chan took up a Genin team. I've been very curious about what you three can do. Care to show me? The Sannin gave them no time to respond. He released a large fireball from his mouth and fired it towards them. Team 3 had barely enough time to avoid the attack. Orochimaru then rushed to them and delivered to Shikamaru's chest. The Nara was knocked backward into a tree trunk, hitting it hard. The snake summoner then kicked Naruto and Hinata towards the Nara, causing the members of Team 3 to collide. They all groaned in pain. We have to get out of here. Shikamaru told his teammates as he pulled himself up. We're way out of our league here. There's no way we can win without help. He said he's trying to hunt and test us. There's no way we can escape if that's the case. He'll just keep chasing us. Naruto realized as he got up. He then got into a fighting position. But maybe he won't chase all of us. You guys make a break for it and I'll hold him off. Ha! Shikamaru turned to Naruto in shock. What? No. Hinata nearly shouted as she pulled herself up as well. You can't face him alone. I know that, but I can hold him back for a bit. The fox can be some help for once. The blonde retorted. You're right that we can't escape. Damn. I hate not being able to run away. Shikamaru started. Determination could be heard in voice, a trait usually not present in it. But if even one of us has to fight, then we all fight. You're not going against him alone. Shikamaru-kun's right. We're friends. We're a team. We stick together. Hinata added with the same conviction. Hinata, Shikamaru. Naruto could feel himself slightly tear up. How touching. I guess you all will just die together. Orochimaru exclaimed before jumping towards them. Shikamaru immediately used his shadow possession jutsu to try and stop Orochimaru from moving. The Sennin jumped away from the shadow and delivered another kick towards the Nara. Naruto jumped in the way and attempted to block the kick, but ultimately failed. The two genin were sent flying together again. Hinata then charged at the Sennin, aiming for his tenketsu. He avoided all of her strikes easily before he delivered a punch to her face, knocking her straight down to the ground. Is this really all Anko-chan's students can do? I'm disappointed. He noted. He's just fending us off with taijutsu. He's way too strong, I was right. I'm going to have to use the fox. Naruto noted before he made a hand sign and recalled Han's advice. Calm yourself, Naruto, keep emotions in check and take only what you can. Red chakra surrounded the Uzumaki. The blonde's features became more feral and his eyes picked up a red tint. He took in a deep breath. This is all I can control, hope this is enough. Naruto charged at Orochimaru. His movement and strength increased as he was able to keep up with the Sennin and block his attacks. Orochimaru noted the improved taijutsu skills with a grin on his face. I was unaware Anko was given the Kyuubi brat as a student. Very interesting. Orochimaru thought. He seems to have some control over the fox, but right now, he's still too weak. After a minute of straight taijutsu combat, Orochimaru backed away from Naruto and raised his right hand. Snakes shot out from it and grabbed onto Naruto. The blonde was pulled in. The Sennin was about to land a punch directly at Naruto's face when Shikamaru tossed shuriken at the man. Orochimaru noticed and then pulled Naruto's body towards the shuriken and used it as a shield. Upon impact, Naruto was replaced with a log. A substitution with no seals, and while in pain as well. The snake summoner noted. Orochimaru turned his attention towards Shikamaru and charged. The Nara responded by charging as well. Just before the Sennin could strike, Shikamaru used his shadow possession jutsu at their close range to paralyze him. Naruto. Hinata. Now. The Nara shouted immediately. His two teammates quickly made their hand signs. Wind style, great breakthrough. Water style, gunshot. The two elemental jutsu headed towards the two ninja. Shikamaru released jutsu at the last moment to get away. The wind and the water bullets collided with the Sennin. Shikamaru then tossed a kunai with an explosive tag at him, causing a loud explosion. A moment passed as the smoke cleared. The three genin did not see the body of Orochimaru, they only saw a brown husk of mud in his place. A clone? Substitution? Shikamaru cursed. Orochimaru appeared again behind the genin. He delivered a hard punch downward to the back of Hinata's head. The Hyuga hit the ground hard and fell unconscious upon impact. Hinata. Naruto shouted as he ran over to her with Shikamaru right behind. Orochimaru then released more snakes from his hands and grabbed Naruto by his neck. These snakes injected small doses of poison into him, causing him to choke. Orochimaru then, through his snakes, raised Naruto up into the air before slamming him into the ground. The blonde, too, was knocked unconscious. Naruto. Shikamaru screamed. You all have some good teamwork. You defeated one of my snakes and even destroyed a clone of mine. Perhaps you would have been marvelous shinobi if you were given the time. Orochimaru stated tauntingly. It's almost a shame to extinguish such potential before it develops. But I'm sure I can live with that. Shit. I can't let him kill us. I can't let him kill them. Shikamaru's brain was desperately trying to calculate some plan that would save him and his teammates. Orochimaru was about to approach, but stopped when he noticed something. He then made a hand sign. He could now see that multiple shuriken were flying towards him. The snake summoner proceeded to dodge them. Kurenai jumped into the area, a kunai in her hand. She stood between Shikamaru and the Sannin. Ah, Yuhi Kurenai, Konoha's genjutsu mistress. Orochimaru recognized the woman in front of him. For a second, I didn't even notice the genjutsu you placed to hide your shuriken. You certainly deserve that title you've been given. Kurenai glared at the man in front of her, but spoke to Shikamaru. Get your team and leave. This man is out of your league. She ordered. Shikamaru acted immediately. He ran over to his unconscious teammates, picked them up over his shoulders, and hurried off as fast as he could. Orochimaru watched the Nara leave. He knew he could stop and catch him, but he already had his amusement with them. For the time being, he would let them live. Orochimaru, what are you doing here? Kurenai demanded of him. My. I figured you were more polite than that. The Sannin answered. I have no desire to share pleasantries with you. She hissed. So, you thought it was fun to just sneak into the village you betrayed and attack random genin teams during an exam? I just had some spare time on my hands, wanted to see the team my student was training. You know her, right? I believe you two were friends. Orochimaru grinned when he saw the woman hiss again. But that wasn't my main objective here. I already accomplished that. And that was? Kurenai asked. You'll know in due time. The man chuckled. By the way, did you really think I wouldn't notice the genjutsu you placed since the beginning of this conversation? Kurenai's eyes widened. Her genjutsu had finished working and the Orochimaru in front of her seemed to be pain, only to turn to mud. The Sannin then appeared right behind her and released a snake from his arm. Kurenai could not avoid the bite. She fell to the knees and could feel poison going through her veins. Kurenai cursed inwardly. I have to get out of here, let the Hokage know about him. Your genjutsu is good. However, I've faced someone who was much better with it than you. Orochimaru stated. A trace of bitterness was evident in his tone of voice as he remembered the person he was talking about, but it went almost immediately. You know, I could kill you right now, but I'll let you live. Just deliver this message to your Hokage, tell him that if this exam is cancelled, I'll destroy Konoha and burn it to the ground. With those words, Orochimaru left Kurenai and retreated. He accomplished his mission and had his fun. Now, he had to wait. Kurenai struggled to get herself up. The poison was affecting her body. She knew she wouldn't be able to chase after Orochimaru. Even if she could, she doubted that she could do anything. No shinobi has ever shut down her genjutsu before like that. I just got to get out of here and warn the Hokage. We have to deal with Orochimaru before it's too late. Kurenai told herself as she started to walk slowly away. Guys. I found a team. A voice spoke. Two Takigakure shinobi turned in the direction of the voice. One of the shinobi was a tall, lanky boy with long black hair. He had on a blue jacket and black shorts, and had multiple water canteens attached to his jacket. His forehead protector was around his neck. The other shinobi was a tall, muscular boy with brown hair. He wore a skin-tight brown shirt with the Taki village symbol on it and wore camouflage pants. He was also carrying a large axe on his back. Both shinobi were staring at Kariyoto Asuna, the red-headed kunoichi they called teammate. Asuna, are you sure? 'Cause that's what you said 20 minutes ago, and we ended up finding no team. the lanky boy grumbled. Hey, shut up, Ray. There was a team there. They just left before we got there. Asuna shouted, crossing her arms over her chest. Gosh, you're so loud. The boy, Ray, continued to grumble. That got you in trouble with the proctor at the beginning of the exam. And it's going to get us in trouble here. Some tiger probably heard that. Or worse, an enemy team. We're going to get ambushed thanks to you. Ray, quit your bitching and shut up. Asuna hissed at him. She then turned to her other teammate. What do you think, Takoto? The muscular boy, Takoto, remained quiet for a minute before speaking in a monotone, deep voice. What village? Konoha. And this is the best part, 2 of the team members are down. It was a blonde guy and blue-haired girl. The only one up is some brown-haired guy and he looks exhausted. It'll be cake to beat him and take their scroll. She cheered. If that's the case, they probably lost their scroll. We'll just be wasting our time. Ray sighed. Ray. Asuna hissed. Both of you, quiet. Takoto spoke up. Both of his teammate was quiet. We'll go check this team. If they have a scroll, we'll take it. Now, let's move before we lose the opportunity. Ray nodded in slight annoyance. Asuna, however, was excited. Her hand immediately moved to the scythe on her back. Time to get our earth scroll and get out of this forest. She stated excitedly. The Takigakure shinobi proceeded to leave, heading in the direction of the Konoha team. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.